My name is Loisa Mbata, and I'm the Corporate Affairs Manager for ZCCM Investment Holdings PLC. I'd like to welcome everyone to the 21st Annual General Meeting for members of ZCCM-IH. I'd like to welcome those who are with us in person here at Southern San, and also those of you who are joining us virtually from wherever you're joining us. For you to listen to the proceedings clearly, we'd like to ask you to mute the original audio so that you can be able to choose whether the English channel or the French channel. With that said, we do also have the French translators who will be translating from English to French and vice versa. So please feel free to choose between the English and the French channels. Present here is the ZCCM-IH board and also management, and you, the shareholders. The introductions for the board and management will be done as the proceedings commence. Once again, I'd like to welcome you all and thank you for being here this morning. At this point in time, I will hand over to the company secretary for the furtherance of this meeting. Thank you.
Good morning, shareholders. Good morning, members of the board and management team, including our auditors, regulators, brokers, transfer secretaries, and indeed everyone here. Our AGM is about to start, and to begin with, let me mention that Mr. Festom Sonda, who is the board chairman of ZCCM Investment Holdings PLC, will preside as chairperson for this meeting, and this is in compliance with Article 52 of the Articles of Association of the company, which provides for the board chairperson to preside as chairperson at the general meeting of members. Board Chair, we can now proceed. Thank you.
Good morning to you all, those who are present here and those joining us virtually. I call upon the company secretary to confirm that the quorum is constituted.
Board Chair can confirm that we do have a quorum and we can proceed.
The necessary quorum being present, I declare the meeting duly constituted and open, and welcome you to the 21st Annual General Meeting of the company. I have the following announcements to make. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I am pleased to welcome you to the 21st Annual General Meeting of the company. Over the past year, the board and management have worked closely and diligently to strengthen internal processes, culminating in completing the audited financial statements. Shareholders are informed that efforts are ongoing to further improve the timelines of issuing audited financial statements in the future. Queries relating to individual shareholder concerns will be handled after the AGM right in this room. Registration of members present is being done right at the entrance. We have also made provisions for online registration. I hope that all members registered their names. Allow me to take this opportunity to introduce Mrs. Beatrice Nkanza, representing the Industrial Development Corporation Limited, the 61.3% majority shareholder in ZCCM. You may just raise your hand where you are seated as I introduce you. In addition, I hereby introduce Mr. Rodney Machela, representing the government of the Republic of Zambia, GRZ, holder of significant shares of 17.3 through the Minister of Finance as custodian. I acknowledge the presence of Mr. Willie Chingoma, representing the National Pension Scheme Authority, NAPSA, with a shareholding of 15%. May I also take this opportunity to introduce the members of the Board of Directors of ZCCM-IH here today. Mr. Movita Kapelwa, sitting right on my right, a non-executive director and vice chairperson of the board, and chairperson of the investment committee. He is also a member of the audit and remuneration committees. Mrs. Mastala Mushinga, non-executive director, chairperson of the audit committee and member of the remuneration and risk, compliance and ESG committees. Mr. Philip G. Tosak, who has joined virtually, a non-executive director and chairperson of the risk, compliance and ESG, and a member of the audit and investment committee. Mr. Anthony Chilengi, across here, non-executive director and chairperson of the remuneration committee and a member of the investment and risk, compliance and ESG committees. Mr. Bishop Mambo, sitting across there, non-executive director and member of the remuneration, audit, risk, compliance and ESG committees. Mr. Kakene Nwamuyangwa, executive director and chief executive officer of ZCCM-IH. Apologies have been received from Mr. Muyangwa, non-executive director and member of the investments and remuneration committees, also representing NAPSA. With respect to the management team, I have seated here with me on my left Mr. Charles Mijumpi, the company secretary. I also have Mrs. Chilando Sakala, the chief financial officer. Mr. Stumbeko Mubano, the acting chief investment officer. Mr. Tisa Chama, the chief technical officer. Mr. Shepard Mwanza, the chief internal audit officer. Mr. Gift Zulu, the procurement manager. And Mrs. Mwaka Mwamlima, the risk manager. The rest of the management team of ZCCM-IH are seated in the front row, and I will ask them to introduce themselves.
Sont assis ici devant et je vais les demander de se présenter. Bonjour à tous. Je m'appelle Betty, je suis la chef d'administration. Je suis le chef des ICC de ZCCM-IH.
Okay.
Vous pouvez utiliser le micro.
I'm the chief
Bonjour, je dis que je suis Mukupa Kangwa et je suis le chef de ICCM Management.
Good morning, Brian Bizema, the legal manager.
Bonjour à tous, je suis le chef des avocats de ZCCM-IH.
Good morning, everyone. Kalembo
Bonjour à
Tito,
tous.
strategy manager at ZCCM-IH.
Ici c'est Kalombo, c'est moi le chef des stratégies ici à ZCCM-IH.
In terms of apologies from shareholders,
Pour les gens qui
I
sont
have
demandés
not
pardon,
received any apologies.
j'ai reçu aucune pardon.
Do we have
des
apologies
actionnaires.
from members who have been unable to attend the meeting?
Est-ce qu'on a les membres qui sont envoyés Les pardons. Alors
Thank
qu'ils
you.
sont pas-
The
ils sont pas
apologies
présents ici.
have been noted.
On a noté
We
ça.
also have present in the meeting
Nous avons
our
aussi
sponsoring
présent
brokers, Stock Brokers Zambia, led by Mr. Jack Kanyanga. Our transfer secretaries, COPSEV Transfer Agents Limited, led by Mr. Setfree Nyapi. We also have representation from the Securities and Exchange Commission as well as the Lusaka Securities Exchange. I now hand over to the Secretary to inform the meeting of the proxies received and to read the notice convening the meeting.
La notice concernant cette réunion.
Thank you, Chair.
Merci beaucoup,
COPSEV,
Monsieur le Président. Oui,
we can just
COPSEV,
have the proxies.
si vous pouvez nous donner les procurations.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Chair, I'll just read a few of the proxies. You've already mentioned the IDC, which is being represented by Mrs. Nkanza, Ministry of Finance, being represented by Mr. Rodney Machla, National Pensions Scheme Authority, being represented by Mr. Willy Chigoma. Also just read a few. Mr. Barry Michel, Mr. Clamp Thierry, being represented by Mr. Philippe Toussac. We also have received proxies from Satunya Regina Pension Fund, being represented by Mr. Kelvin Shiunga, and APSA Bank PLC Staff Pension Fund, being represented by Mr. Kelvin Shiunga. The rest of the proxies will be contained in the final report. With that, Chair, allow me to read the notice of the AGM, which can be found in the AGM pack on the first page. Notice is hereby given that the 21st Annual General Meeting, or AGM, of the members of ZCCM Investments Holdings PLC will be held both physically and virtually on Friday, 18th July 2025 at 10 hours. And the physical meeting will take place here at the Southern Sun Ridgeway Hotel, the address being given in the Zango Conference Hall. We also have made provisions for online or virtual attendance. The rest of the details have been with the members for a period more than 21 days as prescribed by the Companies Act. Chair, I now hand back over to you.
Thank you. Before deliberations on resolutions, the voting on resolutions will be done via an electronic system. Our transfer agents, COPSEV Zambia, will provide detailed guidance on the procedure for electronic voting before each resolution is passed. Questions will be allowed before tabling the resolution. Under agenda item number 1, the first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the 20th Annual General Meeting that was held on 28th June 2024. Members to note that the minutes start from page 2 to page 12 of the AGM Pact. I'd like you to follow.
des rassembleries générales.
Are there any corrections or amendments to the
Il
minutes?
y a les corrections ou bien les amendements qui ont voulu
We start
faire.
with page 2.
Nous allons commencer avec la deuxième page,
Page 3,
la page 3,
page 4,
la page 4,
page 5,
la page 5,
page 6.
la page 6.
Chair,
Oui, Monsieur le Président.
on page 3, my name has been
Page
misspelled
6,
as Makanza
mal
instead of
écrit,
Uganza.
mon nom, ils ont dit Makanza au
take
lieu
note
de
of.
dire Kanza. D'accord,
Bon
on va
noté,
noter
Chair.
ça. Oui, c'est noté, Monsieur le Président.
Page 6,
Page 6,
page 7,
page 7,
page 8,
la page 8,
page 9,
la page 9,
page 10,
page 10,
page 11,
page 12
and page 12.
et finalement
Thank you.
page 12. Merci beaucoup.
The resolution relating to the minute is
La résolution
that the minutes of the 20th annual general meeting of the company held on 28th June 2024 be and
2024
are hereby approved as a true and correct record of the proceedings
a été
of the
approuvé
meeting
d'être vrai,
signed by the board chairman, of course subject to
d'être le vrai,
corrections
rapport
made.
de la réunion qui a été fait et
I
été
now
aussi
call
signé
upon
par le
Mrs.
chef.
Beatrice Nkanza
Maintenant,
to
je vais
propose the resolution.
appeler Madame Kanza pour proposer
I
cette
propose,
résolution.
Chair.
Oui, Monsieur le Président, je propose.
I invite Mr. Rodney Machela to second the resolution.
Monsieur Rodney Machela
I
pour
second,
seconder cette résolution. Oui, Monsieur le
Are there
Président, je
any
seconde.
matters arising
Est-ce qu'il
from
y a
the
des
minutes?
affaires qui ont fait
Page 2.
foi sur les processus verbal, les processus
Page
verbal,
3,
sur page 2,
page 4,
page 4,
page 5,
la page 5,
page 6,
la page 6,
page 7,
la page 7,
page 8,
la page 8,
page 9,
9,
page 10,
10,
page 11,
la page 11
and page 12.
et aussi la page 12.
The next agenda item on the agenda is to receive
Maintenant,
the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2024, together with the reports of directors and the auditors. I invite the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Myangwa, and the CFO, Mrs. Sakala Chilandu, to make a presentation highlighting the major items of significance regarding the 2024 audited financial statements.
Rapport financier de 2024.
Good morning, members. All protocols observed.
Bonjour à vous les membres. Tous les protocoles ont été observés.
I will start the presentation with a disclaimer.
Je vais commencer.
The purpose of this presentation is to provide a general understanding of the business of the company and not for investment purposes. This presentation contains forward-looking information and statements which are subject to known and unknown risk.
Pour les risques connus et inconnus.
Today's presentation's outline will cover ZCCM-IH transformation journey. We have undergone a major transformation focusing on value creation, governance, and strategic investments. This 6-year performance analysis that we are going to show is going to display the growth trends over the past 6 years, highlighting the impact of our transformation journey, and the financial highlights from 2024, which will show clearly that 2024 was our best year yet, with record earnings, strong returns, and a solid balance sheet. The share performance section will show that our share price trends, what they are, and what we are doing to improve the market visibility and liquidity. In the portfolio developments, we will indicate the key milestones, including Mopane restructuring, the KCM settlement, and the expansion in the energy sector.
Nous allons aussi indiquer comment on a atteint certaines grandes parts.
In the strategic outlook, we'll be focusing on stability, growth, and delivering long-term value to our shareholders. We will then look at the proposed dividend for 2024, which is based on 35% of the realized profits, a direct reward for your continued support. 2024 was a landmark year for the company. It was transformative. It has put the company on a platform for greater growth and taking advantage of opportunities in the business. There are a lot of opportunities. But in 2024, the group delivered record-breaking performance, driven by exceptional investment returns, sustained royalty streams, and a major restructuring achievement. The key highlights include the finalization of the Mopane restructuring agreement and the resolution of the Glencore legacy debt, which was choking our balance sheet. There was also the settlement with our Vedanta on KCM, which has unlocked a reinvestment commitment of $1.27 billion. We also received 1.43 billion kwacha in royalty income from Kansanshi. Finally, there was progress on the Mamba Phase 2 energy expansion, which is going to deliver 300 megawatts of additional power by June-July next year. And we also increased our stake in CEC. These milestones translated into a surge in net asset value per share to 325 kwacha, and a sharp increase in earnings per share to 248 kwacha, and a clear indication of value creation. We have also strengthened our governance structures by implementing a committee of sponsoring organizations of the Tradeway Commission, COSO, 2013, aligned internal controls over financial reporting, which is shortened to ICOFA framework, and continued advancing our environmental, social, and governance agenda. As we look ahead, our focus remains on investment stability, consistent dividend growth, and embedding a high governance, a high performance culture across the group. This timeline captures
Cette période
our
a
remarkable
capturé
evolution over the past 6 years.
comment on a évolué
From
depuis 6 ans.
establishing new gold operations in
On a
2019
établi les opérations de
to high-value mineral royalties and the debt settlement in 2024,
augmentation des
every
minéraux
year
en 2024. Chaque
was
année
marked with deliberate progress.
a été marquée avec
Our
une
transformation
augmentation dans la progressivement
was
de
driven
notre
by
transformation qui a été
resolving
conduite
legacy litigation and the liabilities,
par la résolution
investing in
des
productive assets,
litigations, mais
enforcing
aussi
better
l'investissement dans
governance,
les
and
assets qui
prioritizing
sont
shareholder returns.
de valeur, aussi prioriser nos actionnaires.
The
et
6-year results
ce qu'ils vont
reflect
obtenir de
a
ça.
shift from legacy
On voit dans
losses
ces 6 ans, c'est un
to
train de
income-generating
nous
assets,
fait voir
affirming the group's
maintenant,
transformation
nous sommes en train
strategy.
de générer
Essentially, we are now
l'argent.
poised
Et
to take this
essentiellement,
business
maintenant, nous sommes en train de conduire cette
on a
entreprise
very rewarding journey
sur
and
une
their full participation
route qui
in the new
va
opportunities which are there
en fait
in
nous
the
rémunérer,
country.
à travers des opportunités qui sont dans
Ladies and
présentes dans
gentlemen,
les pays.
this
Mesdames
slide
et
illustrates
messieurs,
our financial journey over the past 6 years from
rapport
2019 to
nous
2024.
fait voir comment on a transformé de 2019 jusqu'à
Let me begin
2024.
with our 2024,
J'aimerais commencer par
which
2024.
clearly shows a turning point for
qui
ZCCM-IH.
a été
But from
une fois
2020
des
to 2023,
ZCCM-IH,
we
mais
experienced sustained
depuis,
financial pressure, largely due to legacy assets
2018 jusqu'à
and the
2024,
Glencore loan,
on a
and
en fait
recurring impairments.
on a été
If you look at the
confronté par les
dip
pertes.
in
Ça,
the
c'était
chart,
à cause des les passifs des
2023 was the most challenging year with negative net asset value per share and continued losses.
L'affichage, on voit que 2023 était tellement difficile.
The other side of that was
difficile pour nous.
the upturn in the
Et l'autre
debt
côté
equity
de ça,
ratios
c'était que
going
les
northwards.
obligations à payer sont commencées à augmenter.
2024 marks a strong recovery.
Mais en 2024,
Earnings per share rose sharply to 247.8 kwacha, while net asset values per share surged to
on a vu que
325.02,
les actions sont augmentées
both the highest on record for this
de
company.
325.
This remarkable
Et ça, c'était
turnaround
la plus haute,
reflects the success of our restructuring
et ça a montré une tournement de notre
and the value we are now delivering
et
to
les
you,
valeurs que
our
nous sommes en train
shareholders.
de délivrer à vous, nos actionnaires.
I now invite the Chief Financial Officer
Maintenant, je
to
vais
talk through
inviter
the
les
financial
chefs des
highlights.
finances pour nous parler sur pour nous souligner sur les choses qui étaient soulignées dans les rapports financiers.
Thank you, CEO. Good morning to you, all our members, and should I just say all protocols observed. I'll start with the financial statement results, just giving the key highlights and the development that happened during the year. And basically, the financial statements are contained in two components. We have the group financial results, which includes the company ZCCM as a standalone, and then also the investee company's financial results consolidated together. Then we have the ZCCM standalone financial statements.
Donc, nous allons voir les rapports financiers de ZCCM comme une entreprise à part.
Okay, to begin with, I'll start with the group income statements, that's the financial results. As you will note, that the group recorded an exceptional turnaround from a loss-making position in 2023, largely due to the profit that was realized of 1,778% increase in profit. And this profit was mainly driven by the one-off gain that was realized from the Mopani Strategic Equity Partner transaction of 35 billion kwacha, and also an increase in the financial performance of our investee companies, which also contributed a profit of 3.3 billion kwacha compared to 2023 of 2.2 billion kwacha.
Milliards comparé à celui de 2023 qui était à 2,26 milliards.
Moving on to the company's financial results, looking at the income aspect, despite the group recording strong financial performance, you will note that the company recorded a loss of 4 billion kwacha. This is primarily due to a one-off investment expense of 3.6 billion kwacha, translating into $150 million, along with some of the finance costs on the Glencore loan related to the restructuring of Mopani. I think what is key to note that the structuring of the Mopani transaction was inevitable to unlock the long-term values for the company.
Ça c'était quelque chose qu'on devrait faire pour ouvrir les bienfaits de la compagnie.
Members, we're now moving on to a slide that shows the group's financial position as at year ended 2024. You will note that there was a slight decline in terms of our total asset by 2% if we compare with 2023 financial year. And this was primarily due to the Mopani asset reclassification. This reclassification is due to the change in the accounting treatment of Mopani from being a subsidiary to an investee company. What is important to note is that total liability reduced significantly by 92% to 5 billion kwacha from 64 billion kwacha. This illustrates a significant movement in decrease in terms of liability following the restructuring of the Glencore debt at Mopani. When we move on to the equity side, you will note that there has been also a significant improvement in terms of the equity value, and this improvement has led to an increase in terms of our equity position to 52 billion kwacha from 5.6 negative billion kwacha that was recorded in 2023.
Marqué en 2023.
Moving on to just give you key highlights, our members on the performance of our associate companies. This is where we have interest, and what is important to note that the share of profit that has been recorded in the group financial statements was primarily driven from four investee companies, namely KCM, CNMC, Mamba, and CEC, and this obviously reflects their improvement in terms of operation and additionally the increase in terms of global prices, in terms of the movement in our copper prices that boosted profitability during the year. And I think a key to mention here is that the value that you are seeing on KCM is because of the strategic transformation and the commitment of the investments that the CEO spoke about of 1.2 billion that obviously is meant to improve and turn around the operations of KCM. So, members, if you look at the company's financial position, we will note that total assets increased by 74%, And this was obviously driven by the key factors that we have earlier alluded to, the strategic investment in Mopani, the CEC, where we increased our shareholding, what's happening at Mingomba, and also other portfolio companies' performance improvement. And in terms of our total liabilities, you will note that we have increased at company level by 341%. This is primarily due to the recognition of the Glencore loan under the Mopani restructuring. This is a strategic financing instrument and does not reflect operational debt. And when we move on to the equity side, you will note that also from the equity side, we are recording positives. There has been an increase of 66%, and this increase is primarily attributed to fair value gains on financial assets recognized during the year. Moving on to other key reportable matters that we need to highlight. This slide is showing ZCCM-IH's approach in implementing the Committee of Sponsoring Organization of the Tradeway Commission, COSO 2013. This is obviously in order to improve the effectiveness of controls that surrounds the reporting of the financial statements, and obviously enhance our control environment to be robust. I think the key to note here that in 2024, the work that we undertook was to complete a comprehensive mapping of key financial reporting processes, gaps analysis. Gaps were identified in our control processes and consolidated, and the report was submitted to the Securities and Exchange Commission in June 2025 as part of our compliance obligation. And also, key to note is that remediation efforts are underway to ensure that we implement an effective control environment that is obviously aligned with the international best practices.
Qui s'aligne avec les pratiques qui a été mentionnées des IMF.
Well, moving on to looking at contingent liabilities, this particularly members is being highlighted and has been disclosed in full in terms of the financial statements that you have in your hands. So we have disclosed the matter, the Trafigura arbitration matter between the ZCCM and Trafigura. Trafigura is seeking a claim of 82 million plus interest and cost, and obviously ZCCM is rigorously defending this claim. No provision has been made, as you will note, in the financial statement for 2024, and this is because we have disclosed this matter as a contingent liability in line with the provision of the international international accounting standard, which has been stated in the presentation.
Et aussi le rapport financier qui a été mentionné dans la présentation.
Okay. All right. So we are now moving on from the financial highlights to looking at how our share listings and our shares on the three stock exchange performed during the period.
Les échanges au marché sont en train de faire.
So you will note that in terms of our share performance on the Lusaka Security Exchange, there was an increase of 54% in the market capitalization. The LUSE attributed to obviously increase in terms of trade during the financial period 2024. And speaking to the increase in terms of total traded shares, you will note that in 2020 there was a substantial increase in traded shares from
On a pu y voir
11,000
en
to
2024, il y a eu
11,000
une
to 60,000.
et 11 000 jusqu'à
And when you look at the share movement, you will note that we opened with a share price in 2024 of 42 kwacha per share, and we closed with 65 kwacha per share.
avec 65 kwacha par
Moving on to our Euronext access, our listing in Paris, you will note that there was a reduction in terms of the share price and obviously and the market capitalization, where if you look at the market capitalization, we moved from 248 million euros to 201 million euros, and there was obviously recorded reduction in the shares that was being traded. And in terms of our share price on Euronext, you will note that we opened our year with a share price of 1.5 euros and closed with 1.25 euros, demonstrating a reduction. And in terms of the volume, ladies and gentlemen, you will see that there was also a reduction that was recorded in terms of the shares that were traded during the year 2024.
Petite réduction en 2024.
Moving on to the London Stock Exchange, the London Stock Exchange market cap remained consistent with 2023 financial year, and there were no traded shares during the year, and we closed off with the same share price that we had opened with in 2024 financial year. I'll now hand over to the CEO to continue with the rest of the presentation. Thank you so much.
Pour continuer avec l'autre présentation. Merci beaucoup.
I will start by providing an overview of the portfolio. This slide contains the subsidiaries, investee companies, and associated companies. In total, there are 24. As part of our strategy is to streamline our portfolio to focus on mining and energy and related investments. 9 companies highlighted in red are earmarked for divestment or disposal, so that our concentration remains on key core mining and energy assets that will drive value to the business. We have initiated the necessary steps for this rationalization program to optimize the portfolio in future, so that we focus on those target areas. The table and pie chart represents the distribution of value and the concentration across different mining and energy industries. Copper, gold, and cobalt concentration rate is at 73.4%, 73.6% of the total portfolio at 42.2 billion kwacha. This sector holds the largest value in the concentration, indicating that the majority of the company value comes from these metals. The energy sector is at 26% of the total portfolio value, at 14.9 billion kwacha. The energy sector contributes significantly, but is much smaller in value, and the concentration compared to the copper, gold, and cobalt sector. The other commodities make up 0.4% of the total, at 0.2 billion kwacha. This includes other sectors which together make up a very small portion of the total value and concentration. So the valuation, as you can see there, is at 48 billion for 2024.
est à 48 milliards.
Here, we are now going to look at the strategic key developments, among others, such as Kansanshi, with a stable royalty income, and the S3 expansion on track for 2025. We'll look at Mopane with a major restructuring that has been completed and focus now on operational recovery. At Mamba, they are advancing the 300 megawatt phase 2 extension to grow energy revenues. CEC, we increased our stake to 32.14%, supporting renewable energy growth. Mingomba is it's like a startup in exploration at this point in time, but it's progressing very well. But this is going to be key for future critical minerals. KCM, as mentioned before, the $1.27 billion Vedanta reinvestment is underway to drive the turnaround, and that's over 5 years. In our subsidiaries, generally we provide funding to support their recovery plans. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to go through the individual investments one by one and highlight what's happening there. At Mopane, we had IRH come in as a strategic equity partner. Through this transaction, we successfully repositioned Mopane as a financially sustainable operation. A key outcome was the resolution of the $1.71 billion in Mopane-related debt, which was due to Glencore and Kalisa. To date, IRH through its subsidiary Delta Mining has invested $620 million out of the committed $1.1 billion. This includes $400 million towards restructuring the Glencore loan and the $220 million as equity injection into Mopane. The balance of $400 million in equity funding will be invested over the next 3 years. In 2024, Mopane recorded 16.36 billion kwacha in revenues and a net profit of 34.14 billion kwacha, approximately $1.31 billion, marking a decisive turnaround from prior years of losses. This transaction has significantly reduced our financial exposure and positioned ZCCM-IH for long-term sustainable value creation. At CEC, ZCCM-IH increased the shareholding from 31.07% to 32.41%, reinforcing its strategic influence in powering Zambia's mining and industrial sectors. As part of our expansion in renewable energies, CEC commissioned the 16 megawatt Intimpi 1 solar PV plant, bringing total renewable energy capacity to 94 megawatts in 2024. Construction also commenced on 2 smaller projects, the 12.5 megawatt Fitula solar project and the 20 megawatt Ganaton South solar project. CEC also issued a green bond of 96.7 to solar project. Advanced clean agenda, investing in $10 million of that green bond. At Mamba, in 2022, Resco and Mamba Energy reached a settlement on outstanding power arrears. By the 31st 2024, balance had dropped to $210 million. Then 20. On 44, again, construction of the 300 megawatt to a 400 double capacity to 600 megawatts. ZCCM-IH has committed $50 million to this project, of which $35 million is towards equity and is in line with our 35% stake in the business, and $15 million in debt financing. At Kansanshi, ZCCM-IH earned $1.43 billion in royalties, showing a strong result tied to high production. The upcoming A3 expansion, set for August 2025, will boost processing capacity and extend the mine life by 5 years, securing long-term revenue and asset value for ZCCM-IH. At CM, we and Vita Resources signed a landmark agreement to resolve all disputes, start operations. Vedanta committed $1.27 billion in new investment, which, as I've said, will be over the next 5 years. KCM is operational with approximately $400 million already invested by Vedanta. This marks a turning point aimed at unlocking the Konkola domain, which will be stabilizing KCM's finances and investor confidence after years of uncertainty. At CNMC Rancho Copper Mines, it's important to note that CNMC began dewatering Shaft 28 to support its expansion plans, with a completion targeted for December 2025. This project is going to cost $500 million and will extend the life of mine by 20 years. So far, $54.9 million has been spent on CapEx. Once completed, annual copper production is expected to more than double from 45,000 tons to 100,000 tons. At NFCA Mining, Africa Mining, the mine is focusing on the development of the southeast ore body at its Chambeshi unit. This project aims to extend the life of the mine by 25 years and significantly boost copper production capacity, and feasibility studies are currently has been made at in terms of exploration works, positioning it as a potential world-class copper asset. While not yet generating revenue, ZCCM-IH invested $9.7 million in 2024 for geological works and feasibility studies, with a pre-feasibility study expected in 2025. And there are plans, although tentative, that infrastructure and shaft sinking could be starting sometime late next year. By the end of 2024, a total of 78 kilometers had been drilled. At Zambia Gold, it's key to note that following the resolution of regulatory and safety issues, operations at Kasenseli Gold Mine resumed in March 2025. Zambia Gold has since begun exploration activities and commenced trial mining as part of the exploration phase. It has also commenced in a limited way some gold trading activities in Mombwa and Rufunsa. At Luvambe Copper Mines, ZCCM-IH increased its stake in that mine from 20 to 30%, following a $300 million investment by JCHX to support the mine's turnaround. To date, 110 million has been invested by JCHX. Under JCHX's control, Luvambe is now focused on stabilizing production, optimizing operations, and extending mine life, with further investment expected to unlock long-term value. Looking forward, the foundation that we have built positions ZCCM-IH for stable and sustained growth. Mopani now has a clearer route to profitability under the restructured agreement. Kansanshi royalties are a predictable and significant income stream. Our investees, especially CEC and Mamba, are delivering higher dividends, and our energy portfolio is positioned to benefit from Zambia's growing power demand. These drivers affirm our confidence in maintaining strong performance and delivering value to shareholders. Before we proceed to that, I just also wanted to point out that we have recently made a significant investment in Sinograde phosphate project in Sinda with the processing in Chilanga. That's a significant investment. This is a brand new investment, and we are very happy that we've made that investment, and we think that this is going to bring fantastic value to the business over the years. Okay. I'm advised that the dividend is going to be discussed under agenda item number 3, but so we will keep the good news in wraps until then. Thank you very much.
I now invite Mr. Chelo Hamwele to present the audit report on behalf of KPMG Zambia, who are our external auditors.
Good morning, members and directors. As indicated, my name is Chelo Hamwele, representing Jason Kazilimani, who is the signing partner. So I will take the members through our report. It reads, Independent Auditor's Report to the shareholders. It's on page 44 of your financial statements, your integrated annual report. Independent Auditor's Report to the shareholders of ZCCM Investments PLC. Report on the audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements. Opinion, we have audited the consolidated and separate financial statements of ZCCM Investments Holdings PLC, set out on pages 50 to 195, which comprise the consolidated and company statement of financial position as of 31st December 2024, and the consolidated and company statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, consolidated and company changes in equity, and consolidated and company statements of cash flows for the year then ended, the notes to the financial statements, and a summary of material accounting policy information. In our opinion, the accompanying consolidated and separate financial statements give a true and fair view of the consolidated and separate financial position of ZCCM Investments Holdings PLC as at 31st December 2024, and of its consolidated and company financial performance and consolidated and separate cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with IFRS accounting standards as issued by the International Accounting Standards Board and in compliance with the requirements of the Companies Act of Zambia and the Securities Act of Zambia. Chair, just quickly on page 49, report on other legal and regulatory requirements, Companies Act of Zambia. In accordance with section 259(3) of the Companies Act of Zambia, we consider and report that there is no relationship, interest, or debt we have with the company, and there were no serious breaches of corporate governance principles or practices by the directors as defined by the guidelines on serious breaches of corporate governance issued by the Zambia Institute of Chartered Accountants, Securities Act of Zambia. In accordance with Rule 18 of the Securities Act, statutory instrument number 163 of 1993, we consider and report that the consolidated and separate statements of financial position, consolidated and separate statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income were in agreement with accounting records, and we have obtained all the information, explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purposes of the audit, signed KPMG, Jason Kazilimani, on the 20th of June 2025. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that report. Besides the highlights given by the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Miyangwa, and the audit report presented by Mr. Hamwele, I will take that the 2024 financial statements and reports as read. Before these are adopted, I invite questions from shareholders, and the same will be answered by the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Miyangwa, and other members of the management team. As this is a members' meeting, I emphasize that only shareholders are allowed to comment or ask questions. As you make a comment or ask questions, kindly introduce yourself and which town or country you are coming from. Questions should be precise, and shareholders are reminded that due consideration should be given to avoid delaying the progress of the meeting.
We do have a hand behind there. If we can just give us your name, your full names, and where you're from. If you may stand, please.
I want to agree with the CEO that the company is on the same ground. It's going in the right direction. Having said that, I have three brief questions. I hope I'm allowed to ask three. Brief one. The first one is, what exactly did ZCCM-IH spend the money on in relation to Mobile, which somehow seems from your presentation to have affected the books negatively? So what exactly was that spent on? My next question is, on the investing companies, I saw Invest Trust there. So the question I have around that is, what is the fate of the Invest Trust shareholders? The last question is, when do we expect ZCCM-IH to be paying not at least a minimum of 10 kwacha in dividends, since it seems to be doing very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Where's the other hand before we allow the 3 questions to be responded to? Is there any other hand? Okay, so we have one hand.
Good morning, Chair and the members. Justin Sepo Chitengi is my name, representing the Chitengi family shares. I have 2 questions on the strategic plan, rather the strategies as mentioned by CEO on companies that you are trying to either dispose of or adjusting. I observed there was not a line there. Maybe CEO, you could just shed more light on that, why dollar line is listed on that. I was of the view that it's not doing badly. Secondly, I'm of the view that their business is aligned to the 2 major portfolios we're looking at, namely energy and mining, my opinion. The second question is on the Transfigura litigation, arbitration in London. I observed that CEO mentioned that ZCCM-IH is defending this matter in a vigorous way. I don't know if it's not the right forum, but if it were the right forum, would the CEO just shed a bit, give a bit of details of what it is exactly we are doing in defending vigorously? I'm of the view that the qualification of vigorous is a bit general. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We'll allow the CEO to respond to the questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Mukelarai, on the first question about where the money was spent on Mopane, which has increased our costs. Essentially, the $150 million was part of the resolution of the Glencore Kalisa debt. So if you look at, there was this 1.7 billion accumulated debt, which was secured by or guaranteed by ZCCM-IH. So as part of that resolution, some money came in from IRH, $400 million, which was paid to Glencore. And then we committed to pay back $150 million as part of that resolution. So basically, it's our skin in the game, so to speak, that, because we are we are eliminating the 1.7 that we had actually guaranteed. And if you remember, as shown on our, on the summaries in 2013, we actually had negative equity arising out of the Mopane financials mainly. So this is the cost to us of cleaning up our books. Okay, so that's how that money has been spent. It's our part in contributing to clean up the books at Mopane. The second question is about the fate of Investrust Bank. As you may be aware, Investrust was taken over by Bank of Zambia earlier in the year. I think it was about April. And effectively, our role in that bank has ended. Even as shareholders, we're just waiting to see the total resolution of that bank, until it's completely deregistered or whatever happens to it. That's when it will also be off our books. But in terms of interest, our shares have been taken over by Bank of Zambia. In terms of when are we going to get to 10 kwacha dividends as a minimum, we are also looking towards that day. We are working very hard towards achieving that day. So just bear with us, and we think that we've started on the right journey. It may take a bit of time, but we hope that we'll get there very soon. Thank you. I'm not sure about the second gentleman and whether the name was Chitengi or Chitengi. Okay, Mr. Chitengi. Ndola Lime, just as with the Invest Bank, it's in liquidation, and according to the Companies Act or PACRA rules, it will continue being a company in liquidation until all its affairs are resolved. And when it's struck off the register at PACRA, that's the only time that we should be able to say that we no longer have an interest in that. So it's there on our books, but we're waiting for the day when it's going to be completely deregistered by PACRA. And that's the whole process in terms of legal requirements of how to liquidate a company and finally have it deregistered. And in terms of the Trafigura matter, Mr. Chitengi, you're quite correct. It's effectively it's sub judice. We can't go into too much detail, but we are concerned that the company should not be losing any value out of this. So we are doing everything possible to make sure that there's no loss of value to the shareholders as a result of the Trafigura matter. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Maybe just a clarity also on the Ndola lime, the question, why are we divesting from Ndola as the lime falls within the mining and energy focus?
So what happened with Ndola lime was that the balance sheet had become unsustainable. Basically, the company had gone bankrupt. But the core deposit of lime is still there. And as a result, the company, your company, ZCCM-IH, incorporated another entity called Limestone Resources to take over the core business of Ndola lime. So what you see here as being Ndola lime, it's the remnant of that activity. So in fact, on that schedule, you should have seen Ndola lime and also Limestone Resources. So Limestone Resources is the current operating entity, while Ndola lime is the remnant that's going under liquidation. But you're right that lime is part of our, we have 4 legs in terms of our strategy. So the industrial minerals falls under, limestone and lime activities fall under what we call industrial minerals. So we have an interest in continuing that line of business. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions in the House? Okay, we have a hand here. Any other hand? Okay, so we'll get the questions from shareholder in-house. Please tell us your name and where you're from.
So my name is Fikwato Kamanga, shareholder, Lusaka. So I just have 2 questions. The first one being on the reduction of share price on the Euronext. Was there any analysis to just find out what could have caused this reduction? Then the second question is just on ZCCM being in a position to benefit the country in terms of unlocking wealth from mining, apart from, of course, shareholding being one of the ways that citizens get to benefit from this. What other things have been put in place for the country, citizens who are not shareholders, for example, to also benefit from the work that ZCCM is doing.
Thank you. Any other hand?
Kerala again. I think I still have issues with the Mopani. I'm glad because the Mopani issue seems to be of interest to the country, so it tends to be reported in the media. So what is reported, my understanding is that most people out there, their understanding was that part of the agreement with the, is it IRH, the understanding was that those people are going to completely shoulder the Glencoe debt and not money coming from ZCCM to pay that debt. So I'm confused on that part. And then the other question I would want to know is how far is that debt? How much has been paid as of now? And will ZCCM-IH continue to bear that burden, to foot to that bill? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll allow the Chief Executive Officer to respond to those three questions.
Thank you. That Mr. Kamanga, the first question was about the reduction of the share price on the Euronext. As the standards warning goes about share pricing, that prices go up and down. So it's very difficult to explain what happened. As similarly, you might be interested to know that last week, the share price went up 45%, 44%, 45% on Euronext. It's very difficult to explain these are just based on individual transactions coming through, prices at which shareholders are willing to buy and sell. Okay. You asked about the benefits, other benefits apart from being shareholders. As we support the development of the economy in Zambia, as we invest in our chosen sectors, jobs are being created. The fact that, Mopani has been resolved, it means that our people who are employed there, their jobs are safe. In fact, with the IRH coming on board at Mopani, there has been additional jobs created. I think over 1,000 jobs have been created. People were supplying to Mopani, people were supplying to KCM, people who are supplying to Mamba. All those suppliers, they are going to get more business because of the expansions in activities that are sort of guaranteed by our investment. So it's not just your shares and dividends, but generally, as a local investor, we are doing exactly the same things that international inward investors are also doing, which is increasing opportunities, job opportunities, economic growth, and also contributing towards taxes which are being collected by government. So it's very difficult to give you the specifics, but you know what the benefits are of investments, and we are doing our part also. Mr. Mkerara, yes, you are right that the Mopani transaction, is of great significance to Zambia. But, expectations are one thing and the reality is another. So, Zambians probably would have wanted a perfect deal where IRH does everything and we walk away without any pain. But the thing is, there's only so much that investors also, international investors can do. And to get a deal over the line, we also have to commit certain things on our side also. This happens all the time, and a lot of investors coming in, you find they go to ZDA and get concessions. They get investment incentives. Those are costs. Okay, so it's not all one-sided. You somehow, in one way or another, we also have to chip in to what's going on. So I think expectations by the public are one thing. Reality in terms of structured is another, and this is exactly the situation here. There's a question about, I'm not sure how much was.
How much has been paid so far of this Glencore debt?
Yeah, maybe the CFO can give us the numbers, but I should say that this is a 5-year commitment that we have to repay, and every quarter, certain amounts are being repaid. But the CFO can give us what the actual balance is at this point in time.
Thank you, Mr. Mkelevai, and I'll just refer you to the financial statements under page 131, note 35. It gives the detail of how much has been paid. So of the 3.8 billion, you will note that about 1.2 billion has been paid in principal, and then also the interest of 318 million has been paid as well. More detail is contained in the financial statements. Thank you.
I think maybe just to explain that there is a slight difference between the accounting aspect and the actual payments. So in terms of accounting requirements, this item had to be written off in the year that it arose. But in terms of the actual payments, it's being amortized over a 5-year period.
Thank you. Any questions from the House? Okay, we'll take one more question. Then we have questions that we had received earlier before this meeting from the shareholders. Yes, please. You may tell us your name and where you're from.
Coming from Choma, I'm a shareholder. My question is on value addition to our copper and copper concentrates as we export it. Has our company got a think tank department? If we do have it, do we consider engaging brains like Professor Clive Chirwa in our company? Thank you.
Any more questions? Okay, we have a hand here. And one hand at the back there.
I'm ZCCM-IH, a shareholder. I would like to find out whether dividends have been paid for the past 2 years.
Just here from where? Osaka, okay. We get one last question at the end there.
Hello,
everyone. At the back there. Yes, please.
My name is Manjase. I'm shareholder. In line with my fellow colleague who had asked about value addition, what other value addition is ZCCM-IH into other than simply investing in other companies? Are there any plans of coming up with a refinery? Are there any plans of adding value to our copper other than just exporting it? What other investments is the ZCCM-IH planning on bringing into the company? Because I'm not seeing much value addition or much innovation here. It's just simply investing in this company or that company. So as a shareholder, I would like to hear more value addition that's being added.
Thank you. We'll allow the CEO just to respond to those questions.
Thank you very much. in terms of value addition, you know, it's very topical and it's very important. We all know that a lot more value comes downstream beyond what we are doing in terms of mining. And we are actively looking at opportunities for local beneficiation and value addition. In terms of, you know, doing things beyond concentrates, we have, in our group, we have smelters at KCM, we have smelters at Mopani, we also have refineries at KCM and Mopani. So, you know, there is a lot of refining, smelting and refining, which is happening within our group. The economics of doing custom smelting, you know, where you set up a smelter without having a mine attached to that, there are risks to that. And, you know, if we think that the opportunities or the rewards are enough, we'll consider that. But for the time being, I think at least in the copper side, you know, we think that we are well exposed to the downstream side. Now, there are other ways of looking at beneficiation beyond just cathodes also. So again, if opportunities do arise, in whether it's making, you know, copper cables or copper pipes or so, we will look at those. But we know there are companies who are already in that sector, and we see their struggles. Okay, so you know, I think we are going to be very careful in terms of what we do. And I'm really sort of combining between Mr. Piri's question and also, I don't know the name, was that Manjase or at the back? Yeah, so in terms of other opportunities that we are considering, and I'm not saying that we have committed anything, because if we did, as shareholders, you probably have seen announcements to that effect. But we are looking at opportunities in manganese. There is manganese aggregation that we have a mandate on. So we'll be looking at what else we can do there. We have a subsidiary, Zambia Gold, which is working on you know, gold mining and gold aggregation. Again, we'll look at that, whether maybe there'll be opportunities for, you know, after the volumes of gold go up, whether we should be looking at setting up a gold refinery. For those who are in the know, Kariba Minerals has started some value addition to their amethyst product. And at the international airport, a shop was opened 2 years ago. You can buy some jewelry coming out of Kariba Minerals. And recently, they opened an outlet at East Park. So please do pass through there as shareholders. You can buy some of your own products coming from Kariba Minerals. There is a shop there. They do beautiful jewelry, you know, earrings and, you know, rings, necklaces and stuff like that. So, but we are looking at opportunities. We have an investment division which is looking at all these opportunities. It's very difficult to say, you know, for us to make comments about what Professor Clive Chura thinks about beneficiation. But you know, we are listening to all voices out there. If the ideas make sense and we have the capital to lay out and participate in some of these ideas, we will. But we have our own internal benchmarks in terms of what we expect in the form of returns before we pledge any cash to these projects. There was a question about have dividends been paid over 2 years? I don't know if I misunderstood that, but we have been paying dividends. So I think maybe Kosek, if if that shareholder has not received her dividends, maybe you need to follow up. But we have been declaring dividends consecutively for what? Is it 8 years? Oh. 10 years. Yes. Page 7 actually of the pack shows how many dividends, how much of dividends we've been declaring.
Yeah, maybe just to add to the CEO's message over the dividends, just in case in the room we do have shareholders that may not have received any dividend. If you look at the AGM pack on page 16, we have a form which basically requires you shareholders to provide us with updated information. Perhaps it's the bank details that are not accurate or whatever other contact details, so that we immediately approve that. And we do have copies of in the house. They will be able to attend to your queries within this room, so that all the information is updated. And in case there are any payments that are pending, those will be processed immediately. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? We can take maybe the last two in-house, and then we'll get to the online, the shareholders that are joining us on virtually, but also the questions that were sent much earlier. We can take, there's a hand here.
My name is Mike Wang, shareholder. I think at the end of...
Is the mic on, colleagues?
Yeah, my name is Michael Mango. I think in end of March, there was an extraordinary general meeting that was called by this gathering here. Definitely at a very short notice, that meeting was cancelled. May I know, especially from the chief executive, what caused the delay, or the issue that was to be tabled then was resolved without the involvement of the shareholders? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we have one hand here. That will be the last hand.
Francis Nkunka from within Lusaka. My question is, has the board identified any underperforming assets? And if so, what are the plans for those? Are they going to sell, or what have you?
Okay, thank you very much. We shall allow the Chief Executive Officer to respond to this question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mango. Yes, an AGM was called, and the point of that AGM was to consider revisions of the articles of association of the company. The articles have not been revised since a long time. It's probably over 20 years. And there are some developments which have happened where we think that we need to revise the articles so that we can conduct certain transactions and the restructuring of the business. That which can only happen if the certain articles are revised or introduced in the articles. So unfortunately, at the last minute, some further, there was need for further revision and a relook at the draft. That process is now more or less over, and another EGM will be called to finalize the revision of those articles. And I can't give you the actual timeline for that, but we hope that before the end of this year, or even much earlier, we can actually have that EGM and have the new articles in place. I didn't get the surname, but Mr. Nkunika. Okay. The performing assets, yes, we are always looking at our portfolio, as highlighted in that summary, we have designated certain assets for disposal because either they are underperforming or they don't fall within our target in terms of the areas that we want to be vested in, which is mining and energy-related sectors. So we are doing this all the time. And if there are some assets in our portfolio which don't meet our performance benchmarks, then we'll be looking at either getting rid of them or restructuring them so that they can meet our expectations. That's the approach that we take, and that we are taking. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Sorry, CEO. Okay, so we did receive 24 questions from shareholders, which we had been asking for them to send through. And I'll be reading out the questions, which will be addressed by the Chief Executive Officer. And we would also like to ask the ones that are joining us online virtually to please feel free to raise your hand in case you want to ask a question. So we did receive, as I mentioned, 24 questions, and the first one is from Michael Gautier, who is asking, what do you think about the declaration made by Mount Sampa, a former Deputy Commerce Minister, concerning the transaction on Mopani, which should have been subjected to prior approval by the Parliament, and is asking the court to declare the transaction unconstitutional, null and void?
ZCCM-IH has contested the matter and responded to the claim. This follows the joining in of ZCCM-IH, the original action. The position of ZCCM-IH is that the Mopani transaction does not fall within the ambit of Article 210 as to require parliamentary approval. The matter is still in court and therefore sub judice, and we can't say much more than this.
Thank you, CEO. The next question is from Thierry Charles, who asked in an email dated 26 December 2024, then in the absence of a reply, in an official letter dated 27th April 2025 and copied to all the directors, I indicated to the former chairman and current CEO that high-placed Zambian officials had informed me that hundreds of millions of dollars had been misappropriated at Mopani to the detriment of the ZCCM-IH. Their legal entity, restitution, would have damning evidence. Did the management of ZCCM-IH contact restitution and or carry out thorough investigations and take steps to recover the money? If not, why not, given the colossal sums involved?
ZCCM-IH operates under its own governance structures, which guide both its internal affairs and its engagement with partners across various investee companies. In this context, there is a need, if there is a need to conduct detailed investigations into the operations of any investee company, ZCCM-IH will do so in accordance with its established governance framework. That's all I'll say on this matter.
Thank you, CEO. The next question is from Olivier Cretois from Euronext, and he asked, what is Mopani's production for the first 6 months of 2025?
Mopani reported cathode production of 24,337 tons for the first 6 months of 2025 against a budget of 34,481 tons, mainly because of the oxygen plant shutdown from 21st November 2024 to 20th February 2025, a period of 51 days in 2025.
The next question again is from Olivia, who asks, in July 2024, Mamba Collieries was set to begin exploration activities on 2 large-scale licenses for lithium and other minerals such as amethyst, aquamarine, tantalum, and tin in Zambia's southern province. Do you have any feedback on the discoveries?
Mamba Energy is progressing well on its studies on the lithium exploration license. The shareholders will be kept informed on the progress of the exploration program at Mamba.
Again, another question from Olivier from Euronext, and he asks, in May 2025, you announced a $50 million investment in phosphate mine and processing plant project with Sinograte and Wonderful Group. What percentage of the company was ZCCM-IH on? When is production scheduled to begin?
As announced to the market around 30th of May 2025, ZCCM is a 30% shareholder in the project. Construction commenced in May 2025 with production expected to commence in September 2027.
The next question is from Thierry Charles from Euronext, who asks, Mercura Energy Group and IDC have created a training JV, I believe a trading JV, that now says copper concentrates from Mopani, the FQM mines, and KCM. Do these copper sales relate in any way to ZCCM-IH's proportionate shares in these mines? Trafigura is KCM's former trader. Will sales of copper from KCM to this JV not aggravate the already strained relations with Trafigura?
The sales are not linked to ZCCM-IH's equity stakes in Mopani and Kansanshi and KCM. And ZCCM-IH has no offtake agreements with these investee companies. I should say here also that the current concentrate deal that has been announced seems to be a one-off based on current operational problems at the smelters at KCM and Mopani. And I think the other Minister of Finance or government has given the traders up to is it October, November before that deal expires. So there's no hint that this is an ongoing deal going forward. But we don't believe that this initiative by Mercuria will aggravate the relations with Trafi. We don't believe so. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. We have 2 questions from Olivier again. The first one, what do you think about how long it take to KCM to reach full production? And secondly, what is KCM's production for the first 6 months of 2025?
Okay. We have engaged management at KCM, and it's estimated that it would take more than 5 years for KCM to reach full production of 300,000 tons per annum. This, however, requires investment in critical infrastructure and resolution of some of the challenges the mine is currently facing. KCM production this year has been impacted negatively by problems with the smelter and challenges of sourcing acid. As a result, for the period to 30 June 2025, 43,000 tons of finished copper was produced by KCM, of which 33,000 came from their own sources and 10,000 came from outside purchases.
Thank you, CEO. The next questions are about Zambia Gold Company related, and we have Sylvain Blomer, Olivier, and Thierry Charles who have asked from the Euronext, who've asked the 4 questions. The first one, what has been the gold production in kgs at Kasensali for the first 6 months of 2025? And secondly, the Zambia Gold Company was created in 2019 to hold gold mines such as Kasenseli and to purchase gold from individual miners. Could you please tell us what has been done in relation to the second part of the mission, which is buying gold? And then, do you think Kasenseli is efficiently managed? And lastly, PS Mines Dr. Hapenga Kabeta has recently announced that the ministry will collaborate with large-scale investors to enhance gold mining operations in Zambia. Will ZCCM-IH apply to take part in gold mining at large-scale investor?
Okay, thank you. I'll answer those in the same sort of sequence. Following the suspension of operations at Kasenseli in October 2021 and the reinstatement of operations in November 2024, Zambia Gold embarked on resolution of the issues that were found to be problematic by the Mines Safety Department. Essentially, repair and also the repair of the equipment that had developed problems during the suspension period, and installation of security measures. Gold production recommenced on 3rd March 2025. A total of 5.8 kgs has been produced so far. Zambia Gold has been purchasing gold from Mombwa and Rufunsa. This activity commenced in February 2025, with the company purchasing 14.1 kilograms as at the end of June 2025. ZCCM continues to closely monitor developments and are engaging relevant stakeholders to ensure that the Kasenseli mine is efficiently managed in line with best practices and the value creation objectives. We are also collaborating with the Ministry of Mines in various areas, including licensing, exploration, and trading. ZCCM-IH has been mandated to lead in gold, manganese, and other precious metals aggregation. Where new licenses call for participation, ZCCM-IH is open to engage with potential partners. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. The next question is about Mingomba Mine, and they're coming from our Euronext shareholders, Thierry Charles and Olivier. And the questions are, ZCCM-IH owns 20% of Mingomba Mining Project. According to various press reports, Cobalt Metals has bought out EMR Capital's stake and now owns 80% of Mingomba Project. Can you confirm that shareholding? And in relation to this, our company's strategic plan indicated that management wished to increase its shareholding to 35%. ZCCM-IH now receives recurring revenues that will enable it to participate in financing the equities needed to develop Mingomba. Why has the management of ZCCM-IH not acquired part of EMR's shares when the amount at stake in a greenfield is currently reasonable? The last question in relation to the shares, do you think it would be possible to acquire additional shares in Mingomba Mine? CEO?
Okay, thank you. ZCCM-IH holds a 20% equity stake in Mingomba, comprising a 5% free carry and a 15% participating interest. ZCCM-IH is currently in discussions with its partner in Mingomba, Cobalt Metals, for the acquisition of additional shares in the company, and the shareholders will be updated once the discussions have been concluded. And in response to Monsieur Olivier Ketwa, yes, it will be possible, and as stated above, shareholders will be updated once the discussions are concluded.
CEO, the next question coming from Olivier, and it's about Kabundi Resources, that Kabundi mine has been open since 2019. why it has never reached the 240,000 metric tons manganese annual production target. Are you reducing this target?
Exploration activities have continued in Kabondi to establish the resource. Various exploration steps have been completed, including geochemical, geophysical, and diamond drilling. The drill cores have shown potential for copper mineralization, as well as manganese, that will be investigated further.
Thank you, CEO. The next question is about ZCCM-IH, some of the activities and interest. The first one is from Olivier from Euronext, and he asked, during the shareholder open house in October 2024, you mentioned that you were in discussions with Lubambe, Mopani, KCM, and other ZCCM assets to sell the production share directly. Could you tell us which company you were successful with?
Discussions are still underway with these companies, and shareholders will be updated once these discussions have been concluded.
The next question again is from Olivier. On 10th March 2025, GovEx released its feasibility study of the Montanga uranium mine project. The company is seeking funding for the project. Will you be taking part? And also in relation to this question, CEO, Olivier has asked, are you interested as ZCCM-IH in investing in nuclear energy, and whether you think Zambia is ready to build nuclear electricity plants, and will you be in to develop such ambitions?
Okay. Management is looking at this proposal from GovEx, and once this process is concluded, we will then decide on whether to participate or not, and the shareholders will be updated accordingly. Regarding the project will only produce what's called yellow cake for export. There will be no enrichment to the produce in the country. So therefore, the suggestions that we could have nuclear plants in Zambia is not appropriate.
The next question again is from Olivier, and he asks, to create more value and to support Zambia and African countries' development, don't you think it should be interesting for ZCCM to transform a part of the copper in wire, motors, or other component with a big percentage of the red metal? For this aim, why not creating a JV with a foreign company who is producing such items?
ZCCM-IH continues to assess opportunities for local value addition. In addition, ZCCM-IH is supporting the local companies producing copper cables by making copper cathodes available through 20% of Mopani's copper production.
Thank you, CEO. The next question, still from Olivier, who asked, IDC and Mercura made an agreement to sell directly ZCCM-IH's copper share. But if you plan to do it by yourself, don't you think it would cause a problem with IDC and Mercura?
We are not aware of an offtake agreement to directly sell ZCCM-IH's share of copper. However, we believe that such a proposal would require a tripartite arrangement amongst IDC, ZCCM-IH, and Mercuria.
So we have three more questions. The last three questions. The first one is from Sylvan Loma and says, congratulations on the increase of return to shareholders. What are you planning to do in order to have a reduction of the large difference between the share price and the asset value?
ZCCM-IH acknowledges the gap between share price and asset value across the different stock exchanges, largely driven by varying levels of liquidity and trading activity. The company is addressing this by improving investor communication, focusing on core assets like Mopani and KCM, and exploring ways to increase the free float to enhance market participation. While trading remains limited, especially in London, and Lusaka due to low liquidity and long-term investor strategies. ZCCM-IH believes that improved performance and greater investor engagement will, over time, drive better price alignment and reflect the true value of the company.
Thank you, CEO. I think the next question by Barry Michael, again, speaks to the share price difference by a ratio of 1 to 3 on the 3 stock exchanges, Lusaka, Paris, and London, which is absolutely abnormal, as this states, given that even in Lusaka, the share price only represents around 30% of the net asset value. He asked, what do you intend to do to get the share prices to converge to within a few percent?
The response is the same as given earlier.
Okay, thank you, CEO. The last question is from Terry Charles, who asked, junior mining companies have projects in Zambia with a lot of potential. Have the Chief Investment Officer and the investment committee of the board considered taking equity stakes or offering financial partnerships to companies like Jubilee Metals or Midnight Sun?
Management is aware that there are junior mining companies that are developing projects within Zambia and has held discussions with some of them. At an opportune time, transactions for equity stakes or financial partnerships will be considered depending on how these projects develop and the capacity of ZCCM-IH to take up new equity interests. I should also say here that we are also looking at getting a few exploration permits also, which we can also explore on and drive up the value chain and seek external partners as need arises. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. We have, we turn to the shareholders that are joining us virtually. And we have one question from Tandeka G. Soko. And the question is, with recent happenings in the Mufumbwe saga, which is the gold mining, have we taken any interest in coming on board to ensure efficient management and benefit in the long run for the company? What steps is ZCCM-IH taking to ensure gender equality in its operations and interests so as to promote women's involvement or participation in the mining sector? So 2 questions relating to Mufumbwe, and the other one, what steps ZCCM is taking to ensure gender equality?
Okay, thank you very much, Tandeka. In terms of Mufumbwe, it's not only Mufumbwe. Actually, if you're anybody paying attention recently, you see there's a gold rush almost every month. And we are taking a keen interest. We recognize that our subsidiary Zambia Gold is fully committed in terms of Kasenseli and trading activities at Rufunsa and Mumbwa. We are actively looking at the options that we can take as a company to participate not only in Mufumbwe, but there are other places, Mbika, Vubwi, Lusangazi, where gold has been discovered. We are working with the Ministry of Mines and Minerals Development to assist in the formalization of the artisanal sector and also giving the miners, artisanal miners, a fair price. Additionally, also making sure that their processing is environmentally friendly with no use of mercury and other such harmful substances. So it is something that we are looking at actively, and as we progress, and if there will be need to make announcements, the shareholders will be coming out and saying so. Thank you. Regarding the other question, I think...
How is ZCCM-IH ensuring gender equality to ensure that there's more women participation in its operations?
This is of our concern, and it's something that we keep tabs on, both within ZCCM-IH. and also our investee companies. We are fully committed to gender equality and encouraging as much as possible that equal opportunities are given to all our citizens. And it's quite heartening, seeing progress being made in all the operations, but particularly also, just for the record, is Mingomba mining, which is led by a female Zambian engineer, and the composition there in terms of their technical staff is very well represented. But I think we are seeing this across the board in all our investee companies. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. We do have a hand from Thierry Charles, and we will allow him to ask the question.
Et on va lui laisser
Mr.
poser
Thierry
sa
Charles.
question. Monsieur Charles.
Good morning, everyone.
Bonjour tout le monde.
I'm Thierry Charles.
Je m'appelle Thierry Charles, le président des
I would
ZCCM-IH,
like to say a few words of
et j'aimerais
welcome to
dire
our new chairman on
quelques
behalf of the
mots.
member
D'abord, je vous accueille, vous
association.
tous, à la part de
Chair,
le président.
thank you for
Monsieur le
taking
Président,
minority
merci
shareholders
beaucoup
into
pour
consideration.
prendre en considération
noted
les actionnaires.
your dynamism in
Et je
defending
vois
the
votre
interests
dynamisation
of, Zambia and of,
et prendre l'intérêt. Et vous avez l'intérêt de la
I
Zambie au
note
cœur. Et
also,
aussi,
your
j'ai noté
desire to move our
votre
company,
désir
forward.
en
We
fait
have the impression that we are back with one of
de faire de mettre notre campagne sur les bonnes routes.
Madame Dolika Banda.
Et aussi, j'ai noté ce que
We
Madame
are
Dorika Banda a dit.
Relying on you and trusting
Donc,
you
on
to
compte sur vous
continue
et
the turnaround
aussi on fait
began
confiance
at
à
the
vous
previous board.
d'essayer de faire une tournement, mais aussi
To correct the
pour
failure
corriger
and remedy the growing issues
pour corriger et aussi donne les résultats
Thank
sur
you
les
all
conseils
for
qui ont été enlevés
to you
pendant les années. Merci pour cette rassemblement général et au revoir à vous tous.
Well, thank you very much, Mr.
Merci
Thierry Charles,
beaucoup,
for
Monsieur Thierry Charles,
the wonderful and positive comments,
pour
and
cet
also
commentaire
it's
qui
quite
était
humbling
positif
that
et vraiment
indeed
nous sommes
you are
reconnaissants
able to be positive to give
que
our
vous nous donnez un rapport positif et aussi pour donner une chance à notre conseil d'administration et j'aimerais assurer vous tous ici avec Monsieur Thierry Charles qui notre représenté est de délivrer les valeurs pour nos actionnaires et pour nous c'est pas juste être la majorité ou la minorité. On croit que les actionnaires ont besoin nos meilleurs. Donc, on travaille en partenariat avec le management. On sait que nous sommes ensemble, nous sommes tous ensemble et c'est pour ça que nous sommes là pour ramener cette campagne à une autre point et aussi pour avoir un intérêt pour vous les actionnaires. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Charles. On va continuer à s'engager et vous êtes le bienvenu à n'importe quel point et cet point que vous avez souligné, c'est en train de supporter ou bien soutenir ce que nous sommes en train de vivre. Et merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Charles.
Merci
That
beaucoup,
was the
Monsieur
last
Charles.
comment
Ça, c'était
from
les
the
derniers
shareholders, both
commentaires
in person,
sur les
virtually, but also the
actionnaires
questions that we
ici
had
et
received,
aussi en ligne et
prior
aussi
to
les
this
questions
meeting.
qu'on a
Thank
reçues
you.
avant cette réunion. Merci beaucoup.
Okay. Okay, we have a hand
Oh, d'accord.
in house.
Nous avons une question ici.
Could we just pass the...
Est-ce qu'on peut juste donner le micro?
Good afternoon.
Bon après-midi à vous. Je m'appelle Jen Kayesa. Jen Zingani Kayesa. Je suis une actionnaire. J'aimerais juste demander, mais avant de poser ma question, merci beaucoup pour nous assurer, Monsieur Msonda, sur ce que vous êtes en train de faire pour assurer qu'on prend valeur. Moi, ma question est que ZCCM-IH a 100%, une intérêt de 100%, et j'ai vu que la plupart de ça ne sont pas en train de bien performer, soit ils sont en liquidation ou bien ils sont au point d'être fermés. Et Monsieur le Président a mentionné qu'il y a Limestone Company qui est en train d'être bâti, mais j'aimerais savoir qu'est-ce que vous avez fait différemment avec cette compagnie qui vous n'a pas pu faire avec les autres compagnies qui sont au point d'être fermées. Donc, qu'est-ce que vous allez faire en fait avec Limestone Resources qui vous n'a pas pu faire avec Dollar Lime où ZCCM-IH a 100% des actionnaires en fait. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kayesha.
Merci beaucoup,
Kayesa. Okay. Yeah.
Madame Kayesa.
It is an on-point observation.
Bon, c'est une observation de 100% qui on a notre part dans cette campagne, c'est 100%. J'aimerais dire que quand on voit comment ils sont en train d'opérer, c'est qu'on peut mentionner ce qui ils ont la potentiel en fait. Quand on voit les temps que Dollar Lime a entré dans sont au point d'être fermés et en même temps on a bâti Limestone. Il y a les autres jouets qui sont sortis, qui sont représentés, qui sont se présentés sur les marchés. Quand vous partez en dollars, vous allez voir qu'il y a une plante de lime qui est en train de bien travailler. Donc, ce qu'on peut mentionner, c'est que on peut essayer de faire une chose différente avec le management. Donc, ça, c'est les choses que nous sommes en train d'évaluer chaque fois. C'est vrai que quand on regarde, on peut penser que c'est capital, mais nous sommes aussi en train d'essayer de donner le capital pour les retournements de cette compagnie. Ça, c'est à Lime Resources et Caribbean Minerals. Et aussi, nous sommes en train d'essayer d'aider les compagnies d'investissement qui sont en train de soutenir en fait ces compagnies. Donc, si on peut parler de ce qu'on peut faire différemment, nous sommes en train de penser d'engager les partenaires qui sont l'expertise de conduire ou bien d'essayer de diriger ces compagnies en fait. Peut-être nous sommes aussi en train de voir qu'ils n'ont pas assez la capitale et aussi on doit voir les jeux de travail aussi peut-être. Peut-être ça peut être moins et aussi les demandes est tellement grand comparé aux les revenus qu'ils sont en train d'injecter. Peut-être Caribbean Minerals est juste un ou bien deux clients de Chine, mais on a une grande marché, on a l'Inde, les États-Unis. Nous sommes en train de voir ces opérations en fait. Et nous sommes aussi en train de voir les façons où on peut essayer de faire une tourment et nous sommes en train de voir ça et aussi on croit qu'on va commencer à voir les résultats.
Company Secretary and Chair.
À vous,
At this
Monsieur
point,
le secrétaire.
the chairman is going to continue the rest of the
À
proceedings
ce
of
point,
the meeting.
le président va
Thank you very much.
continuer
And
avec
once again, I
les autres
extend
les choses qui sont restées
my
sur
sincere
l'ordre
thanks
du
to all
jour.
of you for
Et
the
j'aimerais
energy
aussi vous
and
remercier, vous
putting the
tous,
questions.
pour
That's why you are there. It
être
shows
présents
that the
ici et
shareholders are
aussi pour
alive
nous donner les
and also
questions. Ça nous fait
making us
voir que nos
perform
actionnaires
better.
vraiment
So
sont
once
là
again,
et sont aussi en
thank
train
you
de nous
for
aider
all
à
of
bien
you
travailler.
participated.
Donc merci
And
beaucoup à
even those
chacun
who had
de
the
vous
questions similar to
qui
the
sont
ones presented,
participés. Et
although they didn't
aussi
present,
les
but
gens
thank
qui
you
avaient
once
les
again.
questions, peut-être les
The
mêmes
resolution
questions
relating to the
avec
audited
ce qui a été
financial statements
présenté.
for the
Merci
year
beaucoup. La
ended
résolution
31st
en
December
relation avec
2024,
les rapports financiers
together
de
with the
décembre
reports of the directors
2024,
and the
ensemble avec
auditors,
le rapport des conseils
is
d'administration et que
that the audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2024,
et que les
together
les
with the reports of the
commissionnaires au
directors and
compte
the
de
auditors,
2024
be
ensemble avec
hereby
les
received
commissionnaires
and
de
adopted.
conseil d'administration sont été reçus et adoptés.
I now request
Et
one shareholder
j'aimerais
to
aussi
propose the
demander
resolution.
une actionnaire pour proposer cette résolution.
Shareholders, you can
Les
mention your name.
actionnaires, vous pouvez nous donner les noms, vos noms. Docastilla, je propose.
I invite another shareholder to second the resolution.
J'invite une autre actionnaire pour seconder cette résolution.
ZCCM-IH, I second.
ZCCM-IH, je second.
Thank you.
Merci
As
beaucoup.
indicated earlier,
Comme j'avais
the
déjà
resolutions
indiqué, la
will be
résolution
voted on
sera
at
votée à la
end,
fin de cette
or once
réunion
all resolutions are
ou
submitted.
après avoir adopté toutes les résolutions ou bien soumettre toutes les résolutions.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of
Maintenant, on
the
passe sur
final.
l'autre point sur le
Sorry, on
l'agenda.
the next item on the agenda is the approval of final dividend.
L'autre point sur
Final
l'ordre du
dividend
jour
of
est l'approval de dividendes de
3.29 per share.
3,9
The board has recommended
par
a total
actionnaire.
dividend
Le
payout
conseil
equivalent to
d'administration a recommandé un paiement de dividendes de 528 milliards 926 25 milliards. Je vais maintenant inviter M. Muyangwa pour nous donner une petite présentation soulignant les choses stratégiques en relation avec cette campagne. Juste sur ça, oui, juste sur l'aspect des dividendes, on va vous ramener maintenant là où vous nous a dit qu'on va parler de ça après.
You know, I think we do understand our
Je crois que
company auditors have delivered and done their part. You
les
know, wherever they are,
commissionnaires
when time
de
clicks,
compte,
they
vraiment les
earn money. I want to
auditeurs
save some money for you shareholders.
sont
So
tellement
I think I'll allow
fait
them to
leur
leave.
part.
But thank you very much
S'ils
for
sont
coming,
quelque
and we
part,
appreciate your
en fait,
earnest efforts.
c'est les attentes, on paye pour les attentes. Donc, pour essayer de, en fait, gagner un peu d'argent, on va laisser les auditeurs de quitter cette réunion. Merci beaucoup pour votre participation.
Moving on to last part of the agenda, item number 6.
Passons maintenant
For the
sur les
2024
derniers
financial year, the board has proposed a dividend
sur
of
les
2
derniers ordres du
29
jour,
per share,
le conseil d'administration a
amounting to
proposé
528
une somme de
million kwacha,
3,29 kwacha par actionnaire. Ça va accumuler à 528 millions. Ça va aussi accumuler à 5,
Lusaka Securities Exchange share
une
price
augmentation
of
des
65
dividendes de
kwacha.
5%,
The proposed dividend
comparé,
is 35% of realized
comparé aux
accumulated
actionnaires
profits
sur les
in
marchés
line with the company's
des 60
dividend
kwacha.
policy.
Ça, c'est
Compared to prior
ça
years,
s'aligne
this
avec
represents a
les demandes
significant
de la
increase,
campagne
more than
et
double
aussi
the
ça nous
payout from
fait
2023,
voir qu'on a
highlighting strong
vraiment
earnings
marqué une
recovery.
augmentation
As required
comparée
by
aux
the
autres
Companies
années.
Act number 10
Et
of
ça, c'est
2017, the
nous sommes
dividend
au bon
proposal
schéma parce
is
que c'est
subject to
quelque chose
passing the
qui a été
solvency
demandé par les
test,
campagnes, l'annexe
ensuring
de la
that
campagne.
liabilities
Donc, nous sommes aussi en train de faire
assets,
voir que
and the company
les
can meet
passifs ne doivent pas
obligations as
exceeder
they
les assets de la
fall due.
campagne à l'avenir.
So, to Mr. Mkelevai, it's not 10 kwacha just yet, but
Monsieur Mkelevai,
it's
c'est
double what
vrai
it was last
que
year.
ce n'est pas 10 kwacha vraiment, mais ça a doublé de ce que vous recevez l'année passée. Oh God.
Once approved by this meeting,
Donc,
the
après
dividend
avoir
will be payable
adopté,
to members
les dividendes
registered
sera
in the books of
payé
the
aux
company
membres qui sont enregistrés
as
dans les livres de
at
cette
the close of
campagne
business
à la
on Friday,
fermeture
8 August 2025.
de marché
And the payment date
le jour
will
de
be
vendredi
on
8
or
août
about
2025
Monday,
et le
11
paiement
August
sera
2025.
fait le lundi 7
Before the
août
resolution is
2025
tabled, I
avant
invite
que la
questions from
résolution
shareholders, and
a
these will be
été
answered by Mr.
adopté,
Mungwa
je
and
vais
members of the
inviter
management
les
team.
questions
Just briefly,
des actionnaires
based
peuvent
on
poser les
what has been
questions et
presented
puis
up to
on va répondre à vos questions et puis on va adopter cet paiement des dividendes. Donc les
I'm sure the
questions
shareholders are
doivent
saying,
être
we
juste
have answered the
alors,
affirmative, we want the funds, isn't it?
je crois que les
That's
actionnaires sont en
side
train
is
de
also a
dire
good contribution.
qu'on
Thank you
a
very much.
répondu, on veut notre argent maintenant. C'est vrai que la silence est aussi une contribution. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you once again. The resolution relating to the approval of a dividend is
La
that
résolution
the
en
shareholders
relation
of the
à
company hereby
l'approuvement des
resolve
dividendes
that the
et
final
que
dividend
les actionnaires de cette
3.29
campagne sont
kwacha
d'accord que
per
le
share
dividende de
recommended by the
3,9
directors
kwacha par actionnaire a été
and is
recommandé,
hereby approved.
doit
The
être
dividend be
approuvé.
payable
Les
to members
dividendes doivent
registered in
payer
the
aux
books of the company
membres qui sont
at the close
aux membres
of business
enregistrés
on
à la
Friday,
fermeture de
8
business,
August 2025. Further that the payment
5
date
août 2025
on
et puis
or about
la date
11th
de paiement doit être
day
le
of August,
le 11 août
Monday,
qui sera
2025.
qui sera
I
le
now call
lundi
upon Mrs. Beatrice Nkaza to propose the resolution.
le 11 août 2025.
Chair, I propose.
Monsieur le Président, je
I invite
propose.
Mr. Willie Chingoma to second the resolution.
Je vais maintenant inviter Monsieur Willy Chinkomba
Thank you.
pour seconder
As
cette
stated
résolution.
earlier, once again, the
Comme on a
resolution will be
mentionné,
voted on at the end.
la résolution sera votée.
The
On
next
va voter
item
sur
on the
ça à la
agenda
fin.
is the ratification of the appointment
L'autre point sur
of
l'ordre du
auditors of the
jour est la
company
ratification
and authorization of the directors to fix their remuneration.
aussi la
The
fixation
external
des
auditors
rémunérations
KPMG Zambia
des
have
auditeurs.
informed ZCCM-IH
Les auditeurs externels
indicating their interest to continue as auditors for the
a informé
company for
ZCCM-IH
the year
qu'ils aimeraient
ending
continuer comme les auditeurs de ZCCM-IH
December
pour l'année
2025. The directors are
pour la
satisfied
fin de
with the
l'année
performance of
35
the
décembre
external auditors
2025
and
et
recommend
les
the members'
directeurs
approval
sont
in this regard.
d'accord, satisfaits par leur travail, donc ils sont en train
Subsequently,
de recommander
following the successful completion of the
et
public
puis en
procurement
suivant
process, KPMG Zambia were appointed external auditors. The resolution relating to the appointment and
La
remuneration
résolution en relation
auditors is
avec
that KPMG
choisissement
Zambia be confirmed as auditors of the company
KPM
for the
Zambia
year
doit
ending
être
31st
choisi ou
December
bien retenu comme les auditeurs
until
de
the
la
next annual general
compagnie
meeting.
jusqu'à
And further, that the directors be authorized to
l'autre
fix
assemblée générale
the
et
external
aussi les
auditors'
directeurs doivent
remuneration.
fixer la
I
rémunération
now call upon
des
Mrs.
auditeurs
Beatrice
externels.
to propose
Maintenant,
the
je vais
resolution.
demander Madame Beatrice pour proposer cette résolution.
Chair, I propose.
I invite Mr. Machela to second the resolution.
Je vais maintenant inviter
Chair, seconded.
Thank you very much. The resolution will be voted on at the end.
la résolution sera votée à
Under
la fin.
agenda item number 8,
Sur
on
l'agenda
confirmation of the
numéro 8,
appointment of
la
directors
confirmation
on the
des
ZCCM-IH board. At this point, as we are aware that
comment on va
much as I'm sitting
confirmer,
here deliberating,
c'est
I
vrai
also
que
need
c'est
to
moi
be
qui est en train
confirmed.
de,
So I would declare
délibérer,
interest.
mais moi aussi
I
je dois
declare
être
interest and
confirmée.
probably
Donc
have to
je
be
vais
under oath
déclarer
and
mon
hand
intérêt.
over
Donc
the
sur
mic
l'autre,
to the vice
je vais donner
chairperson
le micro
to
au
handle item number 8 so that he can lead us
vice-président
into the confirmation
pour
of us who have
procéder
been
sur l'article numéro
appointed
8. Comme ça, il peut confirmer
Chair,
nous qui a été
Thank you, Chair.
confirmé.
So the next item on the agenda is the ratification of
Donc,
appointments
l'autre
of
point sur
non-executive directors
l'agenda est
to the
la
ZCCM
ratification
board.
de
To this
choisissement
effect,
de conseil
the
d'administration.
Industrial Development
Donc, à cet
Corporation,
effet,
IDC, majority
l'industrie
shareholder
coopération,
of ZCCM-IH,
qui est le major
completion,
actionnaire,
the following as directors on the board of
avait
ZCCM.
choisi les gens suivants comme
and
les
I'll go
conseils
through them,
d'administration.
with the dates.
Et je vais vous dire avec les dates.
Anthony Chilengi on the 21st of November.
Monsieur Anthony Chilengi, le 21 novembre
Bishop John
2024.
Hardy Mambo.
Bishop
On
John
the
Hardy
17th
Mambo,
of
le
April
17
2025,
avril
as
2025,
non-executive director.
comme
Mr. Kakene Mwamyangwa
directeur exécutif.
on the 6th of June
Monsieur
2025 as
le 6
executive
juin,
director.
comme le directeur exécutif.
Mr. Festum Sonda on the 9th of June
Festum
2025
Sonda, le
as
9
the board
juin
chair and
2025,
non-executive
comme
director.
le chef
as a
de
non-executive
conseil
director,
et aussi
So,
membre
directors'
de
brief
l'exécutif.
profiles are contained in the AGM
Et le
pack. If
profil des
you check on
directeurs est
page
dans
13,
les livres
the
qui on
details
vous
are
avait
there,
donné.
so I'll take
Les
them as read.
idées sont là-bas.
And the resolution relating to the confirmation of the appointment
la
of directors
résolution,
on the board of ZCCM is,
Et la résolution
and
est
I
que
quote,
et je lis,
that the appointment
qu'il
of Mr. Anthony Chilengi,
qu'il
Bishop John Hardy
choisissement de
Mambo,
Monsieur Anthony Chilengi,
Mr.
Bishop John
Festum
Hardy
Sonda,
Mambo
and Mr. Kakene
et
Mwamyangwa
Monsieur
as
Festum
directors
Sonda
on the
comme,
board of ZCCM-B
comme le conseil
and is hereby
d'administration
confirmed.
a été confirmé
Further,
et
that
puis
the company secretary be
qu'il
and is
le
hereby
secrétariat de la compagnie
authorized to
doit
lodge the
autoriser
necessary filings with the patents and
d'ouvrir
companies
les livres
registration agency, that's PACRA,
avec
in the manner
PACRA
prescribed by
dans une
PACRA.
manière qui a été prescrite par
To this
PACRA.
effect, I'd
Donc,
like
à
to
ces
call
effets, j'aimerais
upon Mrs. Beatrice
demander
Nkanza
Madame Beatrice
to propose the
Nkanza pour
resolution.
proposer cette résolution.
I propose the resolution.
Je propose
Thank you.
cette résolution.
I invite Mr. Rodney Machela
Je vais maintenant
to second the
inviter
resolution.
Monsieur Roddy Machela pour
The resolution is
inviter
seconded, Chair.
pour seconder cette
you.
résolution. Oui, la résolution a été
at this
secondée,
point,
Monsieur le Président.
COPSA will provide guidance on the electronic
À
voting
ce
system.
point-là, comme ça va nous donner
And the chairman,
va nous dire
and
comment on
thereafter
va
the chairman will read
voter.
out the results.
Et puis, Monsieur le
as
Président
required.
va nous donner les résultats.
So COPSA will provide, results will be provided by COPSA after the voting is complete.
Les résultats seront donnés
Thank
par
you,
COPSEV après avoir fini les résultats.
Good afternoon, shareholders, through the chair.
Bon après-midi
I'll
à
quickly
vous
just
les actionnaires,
run
à travers
through,
Monsieur le
the
Président.
voting guidelines,
Je vais vous mentionner juste
on
comment
how,
on va,
the voting will be conducted.
on va faire cette...
There are two options when it comes to
on va
voting.
deux options de comment on
So
va,
the first option is the web
va
portal.
faire
I'll
le
kindly
vote.
ask the
La
tech team
première
if they could,
option, c'est le
beam my,
portal sur le web.
slides.
J'aimerais si l'équipe
So the first option
technique
is
s'y peut
the
vous
web
montrer.
portal.
Donc
This is
l'option,
for
la première
virtual
option,
attendees,
c'est les gens qui
the,
sont
shareholders attending
qui sont en train
online.
d'assister à cette
So for
réunion
this
en
one,
ligne. Il y a les actionnaires qui sont en ligne. Donc pour cette option,
So upon clicking the link in the AGM notice, which went out to the shareholders, shareholders can immediately just log in the credentials which they would have created and
donc
received by
les actionnaires
email
peuvent
and
juste
SMS
nous écrire,
on the page
peuvent
which is
juste
showing there,
indiquer
of which I
les
assume
informations
everyone went through.
sur
And
la
then,
page qui
they
est
should have
mentionnée.
landed on this page, which is showing the active meetings. So
Et
they'll
doit être sur
go on
cette
and
page
select
qui est en train
the
de
ZCCM
mentionner
logo. Once they select the
sur l'écran
ZCCM
et
logo,
peut
it
juste
will then
choisir le
land
logo
them
de ZCCM.
on this page, which
Et
is
maintenant, il va, ça va
online ballot.
vous allez
So
passer
on
sur
this
cette
page,
page
shareholders have
où il y a
access to
une...
participate in voting by
et
clicking
maintenant, les
on
actionnaires
the options which are laid out
peuvent participer
as seen on the
en
screen.
choisissant sur les
The other
options qui sont
option, which is
mentionnées
option
sur
B, is
l'écran.
the mobile application. So
Et
this,
l'autre option est l'application
shareholders who are in the room physically
qui peut
here.
être juste utilisée par les actionnaires qui sont présents
how this
ici.
is working is as you are
Comment
coming
ça
in,
se fait
registering.
en entrant ici, vous allez enregistrer, vous avez enregistré, vous avez reçu une papier ou bien par email ou bien SMS. Vous pouvez juste écrire cette
the phone which was assisted by our staff. So once you key in the token, you should have landed on the resolution page where the resolutions are listed.
Et sur la page où les résolutions sont enregistrées, et vous pouvez voter par là. Vous pouvez juste choisir les options. Et pour les actionnaires qui n'ont pas encore fait ça, vous pouvez juste enlever les mains, vos mains, et l'équipe va vous aider dans quelques minutes. Et puis, on va vous montrer les résultats. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Chair. Sure, in just a few minutes, we should be able to release the results.
You may assist all those
Je
raising
crois que
hands.
dans quelques minutes, on va vous donner les résultats. Vous pouvez juste aider les gens qui...
Seamlessly. Okay, I think there are a few hands,
Je
so we
crois
give you an
que j'ai
opportunity
vu les mains élevées, donc on va vous donner
Good afternoon once
l'opportunité
again.
de les aider.
So, the voting is
Bon
closed,
après-midi
and I will
encore.
just invite
On a fermé
the chair to
le
go ahead
voting, donc je vais
and
juste
announce the results.
inviter
And
Monsieur le
I'll also
Président
ask the
pour
technical
annoncer les
team to
résultats
beam
et
the
aussi
results.
je vais
Thank
demander
you.
l'équipe technique pour
Thank
juste
you very much.
afficher les résultats sur
I'll
l'écran.
read out
Merci
the
beaucoup.
results
Je vais
of
lire
each
les
resolution and
résultats
determine whether each
pour
resolution
chaque
is carried or
résolution
not.
et je vais déterminer si
And as we have
si
seen,
les
they
résolutions
have been
a été
verified
votées
and
ou
carried,
non.
also provided by
Et on
COPSEV.
voit que ça a été voté et aussi par COPSEV.
Under Resolution 1,
Vérifié et voté par
adoption
COPSEV.
and
Sur
approval of the
résolution
audited
numéro
financial
1,
statements
adoption
for the
et
year
approval
ended
de
31st
rapport
December
financier
2024,
pour l'année
together with the reports of
2024,
the reports of the
ensemble avec les
directors and the
rapports du
auditors.
conseil d'administration et
We
aussi
have
les auditeurs, nous avons
The resolution
la
passed by a
résolution
vote of
qui a été
100%.
passée avec un vote de 100%.
The second resolution,
La deuxième résolution,
approval of the final dividend of 3 quarter
une approval de
3.29
dividende final
kwacha
de
per share recommended by the
300,29 Quacha qui a été recommandé par les directeurs a été voté par 100%, donc la résolution a été adoptée. La troisième résolution est l'approval des auditeurs externels de la fin de l'année financière 2025. Les résultats sont 100%.
Therefore,
la résolution a été adoptée.
L'approval de confirmation of appointment of directors and the
appointment des directeurs
the outcome is 100% vote.
Et le conseil d'administration a été voté par 100%, donc on a la résolution a été passée. Donc on peut dire que toutes les résolutions ont été adoptées. Donc vous pouvez juste acclamer.
So at this point in time, I think under any other business, you may have a question or a comment
sur les autres
or a recommendation.
Les autres business, est-ce que vous avez les questions, les commentaires? Vous pouvez juste lever les mains et on va vous donner l'opportunité de commentaires ou bien de poser vos questions.
Hello, it's Manjase Kayesa. It's me again. So, question.
C'est moi encore. Ma question est que.
So my question goes to the board of directors.
Ma question est je pose ma question au conseil des directeurs.
A big issue that came out earlier on this year about how our current CEO, who is the former board chair, became appointed as the CEO. So my question is, doesn't this bring about a corporate governance issue?
Est-ce que ça ne donne pas un problème avec les gouvernances et aussi comment ça va donner l'intérêt à tous les actionnaires? Est-ce qu'il est en train de travailler et garder nos intérêts au cœur ou bien c'est ces intérêts qui sont au devant? Et aussi quand on pose des façons que ZCCM-IH travaille, comment ils sont en train de résoudre cette situation? Est-ce qu'on a les autres questions ou bien commentaires ou bien une petite contribution?
Those virtually, joining us virtually, anyone?
Les gens en ligne, est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un?
There's a hand in front here.
D'accord, quelqu'un a levé les mains ici devant.
Thank you. My name is Jen Kayesa.
Je m'appelle Jen Kayesa. J'aimerais savoir, est-ce que ZCCM-IH est-ce qu'ils sont en train de considérer d'augmenter les campagnes d'actionnaires avec les compagnies qui sont en train de déclarer les dividendes?
Comments, contributions,
est-ce qu'on a les commentaires,
okay,
les
questions? We have one hand here.
D'accord, on a une autre question ici.
Shareholder Mike Mamba.
Je m'appelle Mike Mamba, actionnaire. J'ai vu que ZCCM-IH a investi dans les business en Europe. Est-ce qu'il peut aussi considérer d'investir dans les sous-régionales comme Ashanti Gold en Sud-Afrique et aussi en Nigérie et Kenya? J'aime la combinaison que ZCCM-IH est en train de faire. Ils sont en train d'investir dans les nouvelles concepts. Et aussi on investit dans les entreprises qui sont en train de venir sur les marchés. Et aussi on investit dans les mines qui sont bien établies. Donc quand on regarde sur les sur-régionales, nous sommes en train d'investir dans les mines saisonnales qui sont bien où les essais ont été faits. Et vous êtes déjà vu comment cette campagne va augmenter. Donc, quand vous investissez dans les compagnies qui sont en train de bien travailler, vous n'avez pas les doutes de comment vous avez travaillé. Donc, ma proposition est que, est-ce que vous pouvez aussi regarder les sur-régionales? Et je sais aussi que Luce est en train d'intégrer avec les autres stock market sur les sur-régionales. Donc, on peut aussi regarder, on peut aussi essayer de faire comme eux. Merci beaucoup. Est-ce qu'il y a des autres questions?
Thank you, MC.
Merci beaucoup.
This is just a follow-up question.
Ça, c'est juste une addition. Dans le rapport qui a été présenté, ZCCM-IH a une intérêt dans les échanges de champs.
It was showing that we have not made a movement.
Je crois que c'était notre analyse. Ça,
what is management doing to make sure that they improve
on n'a pas fait un grand changement. Donc, qu'est-ce que vous êtes en train de faire comme une compagnie pour nous aider à avancer dans cet endroit? Donc, je vais inviter les présidents pour répondre à ces questions.
Issue of corporate governance,
and I think question en regardant les gouvernements.
Maybe as a board chair, I'll take that because he cannot respond.
Je crois que je vais prendre cette question parce que le président de cette réunion ne peut pas répondre. Vous savez que comme le conseil d'administration, on a une
and as you saw in today's resolution, it's the shareholders who do appoint the board members.
De travailler avec transparence et comme vous avez vu que c'est les actionnaires qui sont en train de choisir les conseils d'administration. Et quand ils ont choisi, on n'avait pas, c'était pas une question.
He asks himself to come here, he can't appoint himself. But what I can assure you is that is the shareholders' responsibility to structure the company to appoint. And in this particular case, the shareholders took an opportunity. In the interest of maybe the institutional memory, they did take the appointment.
Le droit de choisir. Donc, si on peut prendre en considération l'intérêt, donc je pense qu'on ne peut même pas bien répondre à ces questions, mais au-delà des choses qu'on fait, on a les réunions des actionnaires et aussi on va donner place aux actionnaires pour nous dire ce qu'ils ont trouvé et aussi juste pour dire qu'on ne se choisit pas nous-mêmes ici, c'est vous qui avez le droit de nous choisir. C'est vrai que c'était aussi difficile quand on a vu les gens étaient en train d'écrire, mais on a donné nos paroles et on ne peut pas parler ou bien discuter les effets des actionnaires. Donc c'est un peu ça que je peux dire par rapport à ça. Les autres questions, je crois que le CEO peut prendre. Merci beaucoup. Ms. Kaesia, je crois. Kaesa.
Increasing shares in dividend-paying companies.
Bon, en augmentant les actionnaires dans les compagnies qui sont en train de payer les dividendes, je crois qu'au moment où on a 4 compagnies, et l'actionnaire dans ces compagnies est fixe dans une sens qui la structure a été déjà fixée, qu'on a prévitisé en 2000, donc on ne peut pas acheter les actionnaires. Il y a juste une seule compagnie où on peut acheter les actionnaires, des actions plutôt, c'est CEC.
We actually did increase our shareholding stake in CEC.
Et aussi, si vous avez déjà vu, on a déjà augmenté les numéros d'actions qu'on a en CEC. C'est vrai qu'on a aussi augmenté à Mopani, mais aussi c'est quelque chose qui est déjà restructuré et fixé. Donc si c'est fixé à 49%, on ne peut pas augmenter une autre pourcentage. Soit qu'on renégocie avec les autres actionnaires s'ils peuvent essayer de nous faire acheter plus. On parlait d'investissement
I'll probably have to
d'ailleurs.
invite the vice chair. I'm
Je
sure
crois
he
que
has
je
very
vais
good views on
inviter le
this. But you know,
vice-président.
generally,
Je
if you
crois
look at
qu'il
our situation in
peut
Zambia,
nous expliquer
that
un
we are
peu.
actively trying to
Mais
get
quand on voit notre
external parties to
situation
come
en
and invest
Zambie,
in the country. So
nous sommes en
I
train
think the opportunity
de
for us to
prendre
go out and invest. I mean, the world
les
is
gens d'ailleurs
big.
pour venir
And
d'investir dans
there are
notre pays.
countless opportunities to invest.
C'est vrai que le monde est grand et il y a
but,
beaucoup d'opportunités pour
you know, there's
faire
also
l'investissement,
urgent need for
mais
capital right here in Zambia.
aussi ici en
So I
Zambie,
think in terms of
il y a
prioritizing,
une demande de la
we are
capitale qui est
prioritizing
tellement
investing in
urgente.
Zambia.
Donc nous sommes en train de prioriser
but
l'investissement ici en
Maybe in
Zambie.
nearby countries, if
Mais
opportunities do arise, which are
dans
very
les autres
exciting
pays, si
and they are
les
strategic,
opportunités ça se
strategic value, we
présente
will consider
et ils ont
investing
une
in those.
valeur
But
qu'on
maybe,
peut considérer.
we can,
Peut-être on peut considérer
ask the
d'investir
vice
dans
chair
ce
to
pays,
give a word or
mais
two on this
sinon
one also.
peut-être le vice-président peut donner
Yeah,
peut
thank
dire
you.
quelque
Thank you,
chose.
CEO.
Merci
Without
beaucoup.
going into any detail per se, I
Avant
think the approach really,
sans avoir entré dans les
in as far
détails, je crois que
as,
l'approche
you
qu'on
know,
a
sort of spreading
pris,
our tentacles is looking at collaboration.
nous sommes en train d'essayer de
within the region,
collaborer
looking at those opportunities,
avec,
you know, like the CEO said,
nous
there's a
sommes en
lot
train
of
de voir
opportunities
sur
right
les
now
collaborations dans les
within Zambia,
régions
and we're trying to
et aussi nous sommes
really
en train
work
de
the
voir les
value chain,
opportunités ici en Zambie et
and to
aussi
see how we
nous
can
sommes en
get
train
more
de
value
voir
out
les
of our
choses qui
investments.
peuvent
So
nous
to that effect, I
donner
think
plus de valeur.
we're
Donc
in
jusqu'à ce
discussions with a couple of our
point,
partners
nous sommes en
looking
train
at
de
you
discuter
know, the royalty
avec
model,
nos
which
partenaires
provides certainty when it comes to investments.
et aussi de voir
and that
si
sort of
ces
thing.
investissements
In
vont
the
nous
region,
aider
we've
ou
also
non.
started,
Et
you know, legacy
aussi dans la région, on a aussi commencé.
ZCCM are very strong
Par
on the
exemple,
Congo,
nous avons
in
une
the Congo,
relation
and
avec
you
une
know,
compagnie
they've done
au
a few
Congo qui est
innovative
tellement
things. So we're looking
forte.
at really
Ils ont fait un peu
collaborating with them.
des choses
a company that's very
innovatives.
similar
Donc,
to ours.
nous sommes en train de
And
voir si
looking
on
at, you know,
peut
value
collaborer
add.
avec une
We're
compagnie
modeling to start off with to get more
dans
value
une
in the
même
value chain, get
ligne de
more value in
travaux
the
comme
OPEX,
nous.
so to speak.
Donc, nous sommes en train aussi de voir si on peut ajouter les valeurs ou bien les chaînes de valeur sur cette partenaire en fait. Merci.
Thank you. But just to clarify,
Merci
we don't
beaucoup, mais
actually
juste
own
une
any shares
clarification.
in a foreign company
On n'a
out
pas
of
les
Zambia.
actions
I'm
dans
not
une
sure that
compagnie
you are
dehors
talking
de
about
la
the listing
Zambie.
that we
Je
have
crois que vous
on
êtes
the
en train
London Stock
de
Exchange and
demander
Euronext.
qu'est-ce qu'on avait
Now,
on a
regarding
sur
the question
Euronext et
on
London Stock
the
Exchange.
lack
En
of
fait,
activity on the London Stock Exchange, there are a couple of things to
les choses
mention
qui
here.
nous a fait
One is
manquer les
that
activités sur London Stock Exchange, c'est
the
que
way ZCCM-IH found
les
itself being
façons
listed there
dans lesquelles
has a
ZCCM-IH s'est
historical
trouvé
context to it.
d'être
one of the listings from maybe 1970
enregistré
or
ou bien
1960s,
mentionné
which
là-bas
has just been
à
carried over. And what we are now finding
on peut
is
mentionner
that
une point clé,
we
on peut
are
voir un point clé dans
we
l'histoire.
are in the wrong tier.
Donc, on
You
peut
know,
dire
the tier where we are listed
là où
is the
on
same,
nous a
you know,
placé,
tier as some of those FTSE 100 companies, the Anglo-Americans and all the other
une
large mining companies and
où il y a les
international
grandes
companies.
compagnies.
And as a result,
Donc, à cause de ça,
there seems to be very little interest in terms of what you know,
il y a un
in
peu
trading in our shares.
d'intérêt
And then also,
dans nos
some of the
actions.
shareholders that we have on
Et
the London
aussi
Stock
les actionnaires
Exchange
qui nous
are
avons
historical.
sur
And
le London Stock
just as a
Exchange
guess,
sont
doing a
historiques en
sample
fait.
of
Par
some of
exemple,
those,
si
we
je
found
peux
that
dire,
probably a lot of them are
on a essayé de
and
faire une
the shares are held
évaluation.
by
Et
you know,
il y a
family
parmi
members
eux
or
qui sont
trusts who
morts
have just
et
lost
les
interest in this
actions
piece of
sont
paper.
avec les membres des familles
It is
qui
something that
peut-être
we
ne
have
sont
looked
pas
at.
même
We
intérêts,
had a
donc
study
ne
recently
sont pas même intérêts en
of how
ça.
to
Donc c'est quelque
optimize
chose
our
qu'on a
listings.
on a essayé de
And,
voir en fait.
one of the first things that we have to do is to
une des
change
choses
our articles
qui on peut essayer de
so that we
voir,
can
c'est
do certain
changer
things
nos articles
regarding these listings.
et
But
aussi
it's only
faire
after
certaines
we've changed
choses
our
en
articles, that's
regardant
when we can come back to shareholders
sur les
and make some
placements. Et
proposals
c'est
about
juste,
something that we
c'est
want
juste
to do
quand on a
about our
changé
listings.
certaines choses qu'on peut réévaluer là où on nous a placés.
Two questions from the shareholders online.
On a des questions et des commentaires sur les gens sur les actionnaires en ligne. Est-ce que vous êtes en train de considérer buybacks pour augmenter le prix des actions? Et M. George Chiasa est en train de demander comment cette année, les dividendes de cette année est en train est en relation avec les gains de chaque actionnaire en voyant avec la policy de campagne. Et une communauté de Tandeka Soko qui disent que l'inclusivité des genres, notre point d'intérêt, c'est pas juste un impératif social, mais aussi un avantage qui peut aussi nous aider à peut-être améliorer la manière dont on fait les décisions et tout ça, et aussi la participation des hommes et aussi les femmes. Ça va pas juste nous faire voir comme la compagnie, mais aussi ça va nous aider à augmenter et aussi à grandir comme une compagnie dans le secteur. Donc, des questions sur les buybacks et l'approuvement des dividendes et les policiers de dividendes dans les campagnes.
In terms of share buybacks, again, this is something that
si on parle des actions de buybacks, c'est quelque chose qu'on a considéré
in the future,
et qu'on est aussi en train de considérer au futur, mais à l'avenir plutôt, c'est vrai qu'on ne peut rien faire à ce point avec les constraints dans l'association. Donc, on doit d'abord changer les articles avant de considérer ces options. Mais quand même, nous sommes ouverts et nous sommes en train d'essayer de voir. Donc, si on va arriver à un point où on peut faire, pourquoi pas.
Exactly sure what
la question des dividendes, je ne suis pas vraiment sûr exactement à quoi vous aimeriez que je parle.
Just to respond to that question over the dividend.
Bon, pour répondre à cette question des dividendes, et ce qu'on a approuvé des 3,29 kwacha, ça représente 1,3% de ce qu'on vous a donné de cette année. Et comme on vous a déjà mentionné auparavant, on a déclaré que les dividendes sont aussi en train de prendre charge, sont en train de prendre en considération certaines choses. Et vous avez aussi vu dans les rapports financiers qu'on a les investissements stratégiques qui sont en train d'être bâtis, qui va besoin beaucoup de capital. Parmi de cette campagne, on peut parler de Lumumba. Donc, cette dividende qu'on a déclaré a pris en considération le capital qui sera donné pour ces projets et aussi voir que certains subsidiaires aussi sont dans l'état sont pas encore bien bâtis en fait. Donc, on s'est donné aussi concernant les capitales qu'on a pris en considération et aussi il y a les choses qui ont pris en considération avant qu'on déclare une dividende. Merci beaucoup. Je crois que ça c'était les commentaires et les questions qui on a reçues en ligne.
Thank you very much. I think,
merci beaucoup. Je crois que
for that wonderful performance.
Merci beaucoup pour votre performance.
At this point in time, I think it's our responsibility
je crois que c'est notre responsabilité de aussi vous remercier et aussi remercier nos membres qui sont là et aussi les membres qui sont nous rejoindre en ligne. C'était tellement une réunion merveilleuse et j'aimerais aussi remercier les actionnaires.
Mr. Thierry Charles, in particular, wish also to extend
Je vois
our
qu'on a
sincere thanks, I
vu
think,
la
for
plupart de
participation.
vous ici
And also
présents
the
et
guidance
Monsieur Thierry
given
Charles,
how you'd
merci
want the
beaucoup.
company to
Et
participate,
aussi
also
sur
invest in the secure investment.
les conseils
I
que vous
think this is
avez
an
donnés,
ultimate
comment vous
objective
voulez
that
les
where you have
campagnes,
the best
comment vous
investment,
voulez
where you don't
qu'on
have the
travaille
shock,
comme une
you don't have to be an
campagne.
operator.
C'est vrai
I'm sure that will be given for the future.
vous voulez pas
So
être
there
juste
being
un
no
opérateur.
other
Donc,
business,
si on n'a
I wish
pas
to
encore les
once
autres
again thank the
communautés et
management also for
les
putting
autres
up all the
business,
preparation
j'aimerais aussi
for us. I
remercier
think
les
we look forward
managements
to
qui
future
ont
engagements,
mis ça sur
but be
place.
assured that
Et
from a point of view of
veut vous
corporate
assurer
governance,
que
and we are determined, we are
nous sommes
here,
déterminés,
and
nous sommes là.
if today's delivery, even on the dividends, is anything to go by,
Et si
our
peut-être
ultimate
ce
objective
qu'on
once
a
again
parlé
is to look
d'aujourd'hui,
for the interest
notre
of shareholder
objectif
value,
est
and
de
we'll
chercher
continue creating
l'intérêt
this value
de
for
nos
all
actionnaires et on va
shareholders,
continuer de créer
minority
les
and the
valeurs pour
majority.
nos
You are
actionnaires,
the reason we're existing and we're
la
here as a board
majorité
as
et aussi la
management.
minorité
So
des
yes, we're also
actionnaires.
doing an
Donc,
interrogation
c'est à
to
cause
find
de
better
vous,
ways of
c'est vous
performing,
qui
but
nous faites
especially from all
travailler.
the
Donc,
given
nous sommes
advices.
aussi en train
So
d'essayer de
continue,
voir comment on
we
peut
know
bien
where
travailler. Donc, avec tous vos
you know where we
conseils,
are.
merci
We
beaucoup.
won't wait for an AGM.
Vous
We are
savez
available for guidance
où
at any
vous
time
pouvez
and
nous
even to
trouver,
interact.
donc on ne va pas
Once
attendre
again,
une assemblée
I think it's
générale.
my rare
Donc
opportunity
merci
to
beaucoup.
call the meeting as closed.
Donc
Thank you very
j'aimerais
much.
dire qu'on a fermé cette réunion. Merci beaucoup.
In terms of food, I'm sure
Et
it's also,
concernant la nourriture,
I haven't seen any tables, but I hope
je n'ai pas
I
vu les
can
tables,
safely invite the
mais
shareholders
je
to
peux
enjoy some
inviter
of
les
their money.
actionnaires pour
I don't
aussi
believe that
manger l'argent
they
quand
should leave
même.
this space
Je ne
without
pense pas qu'il doit quitter cet endroit sans manger
they own
quelque
whatever we
chose.
have, so
C'est
please.
vrai que tout ce qu'on a,
I want
c'est
to
à
believe
eux.
there's some
Donc,
snacks
je
and
crois
also we can interact
qu'on a
and
préparé quelque
have
chose
some
à
photo
manger pour
sessions
nos
as well. We're
actionnaires.
happy to
Donc,
see
on
you here.
peut
Thank you.
aussi se parler, aussi prendre les
Thank you
photos.
very much,
Merci
Chair.
beaucoup.
And indeed, there's
Merci
lunch.
beaucoup. Oui,
The
on
coupons will be given
a
as you exit. And as I
les
said,
déjeuners
I would
et les
like to say
coupons
thank you for
sera
everyone for
donné
coming. And those
à
of
la
you who are
porte.
joining online, we
Et
wish you could
merci
join us for
beaucoup.
lunch.
Et les gens qui sont en ligne,
Unfortunately,
on allait
we'll
aimer
eat on your behalf.
qu'on mange
So thank you very
ensemble,
much.
mais on va
Let's
manger à
interact and
votre
get some
part.
photos.
Merci
Have a
beaucoup.
blessed day
On peut
ahead. Thank
sortir et
you.
prendre aussi les photos. Que Dieu vous bénisse. Merci beaucoup.
C'est fini.
And we are done.